too. No harsh chemicals, just carpets that stay cleaner longer. Take $100 off air duct cleaning for a limited time. Air ducts circulate the air you breathe, and dust can end up right back on your floors. April appointments are filling up very fast, so don't wait. Visit ZeroResColumbia.com to book today.
Average Amy's. Our coffee has caffeine and our muffins are cooked.
You're not average. Your marketing results shouldn't be either. Cumulus Digital outperforms industry benchmarks by over 25%. Visit CumulusDigital.com to start outperforming today.
Want to make the most of your tax refund? File with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then we help you do more with it. With a personalized plan designed to help you hit your money goals. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
Everybody loves streaming till you have to pay for it. Just download the 107.5 The Game app and stream us for free. It's the Game Network Traffic Report from the Schroeder's Towing Traffic Center. Broken down and need a tow or even free signage for your lot? Dial pound 250 and use keyword tow truck today.
All right, welcome in. It is the final traffic report of the day here on your Monday. Happy to report there are no accidents on the roadway as of right now, and I can attest it was a pretty easy drive in just a little while ago. Today's high 69 degrees with clouds. Tomorrow clearing in 72 and then cloudy in 66 again on Wednesday. That's your traffic and weather on your ride in for your Monday morning here on The Game.
And the kick is good.
Call or text 803-404-6100 on the Game Network.
Nine o'clock on your Monday morning. Welcome in. It is the Extra Point. Just Tyler Head along with you today and for this entire week. Jack Veltri on a much deserved couple of days off, hanging out down in Florida after, of course, Gamecock basketball and Gamecock baseball basically sent him all over God's creation for these past couple weeks. We measured his mileage between Nashville and Gainesville at the beginning of the month. And it was like 2,500 miles, so he deserves a little bit of reprieve. So we'll give him a few days, and we'll get him back in here next week, and he'll be able to tell us about everything that goes down this week on his vacation. But we got a lot of things to get into, not only today, but as the week goes along. Hopefully you and yours had a wonderful Easter holiday yesterday, and now it feels like we're finally into like spring, right? Like I feel like I said this on Friday when we were out there at Charwood, which again, thank you to everyone over there at Charwood for having us out. And it looked like the Game's annual Spring Golf Classic was once again a success. Had a great time out there, had some amazing food, and always enjoy being out there and hanging out. As that's kind of my like sign that spring is finally here. Once we get to go out there and hang out at the Charwood Golf Course for the entire day like we did on Friday, and then you follow that up with the Easter holiday. It really feels like we're fully immersed into spring. And as spring is coming to a close, coming to a close is the college basketball season. That's exactly what happened over the weekend out in Phoenix, where, of course, the women's basketball team did end up coming short in yesterday's national championship. We'll get into all of that and everything that happened over the weekend out of the Final Four in just a moment. But first, it is, of course, time to kick things off with their 9 a.m. Sandstorm Pick-Me-Up.
Time to get hyped. Here's your 9 a.m. Sandstorm, sponsored by George Sink Injury Lawyers. Just call all nines.
It's time for your 9 a.m. Sandstorm Pick-Me-Up, brought to you by South Carolina's largest injury law firm, George Sink Injury Lawyers. If you've been hurt in the car or at work, call George Sink now at 803-ALL-9. 79-51. The final score is for the second year in a row. The South Carolina women come up short in the national championship game, again, by not very close of a margin, as they got beat pretty thoroughly by Corey Close and her UCLA team, claiming their first ever NCAA national championship. They had a title prior to the NCAA recognizing women's basketball and hosting their tournament proper. Corey Close, as they talked about in the broadcast yesterday, had been at UCLA for 15 years, and obviously had gotten her team into the Final Four seasons like last year, where they came up short against UConn before reaching the national championship, and obviously they were able to take the steps forward to get the job done this year, and we'll talk about them more specifically coming up here in a second. But just straight up, Carolina got beat by a really good team. I didn't think that Carolina was overlooking them. I didn't think that Carolina didn't prepare the right way. I just think that, hey, in the game of basketball and any sport for that matter, one team has to win and one team has to lose. And unfortunately, again, for the second year in a row, South Carolina is the one that comes up on the short end of the stick in the women's basketball national championship. And Dawn Staley talked after the game yesterday about, hey, we just straight up didn't have it.
Yeah, it kind of felt like the same thing. I thought they just came out and disrupted from a defensive standpoint, and then they pretty much got what they wanted offensively. And then when they did it, they created second chance opportunities, and we just didn't have it today. We tried, but we just didn't have it today, and they were the better team today. So, really, congratulations to them. I'm glad sometimes you're a part of women's basketball history, and it's not favorable to you, but you can see if you're going to lose to a team like UCLA, you want to lose to a team that just really outworks you, out-executed you, made it very difficult for you to perform at a high level. And it was a direct reflection of what they did to us.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is UCLA made everything difficult for South Carolina yesterday, including at the start of the game. South Carolina made one of their first 10 field goal attempts, found themselves down double digits pretty quickly in the game. And, Tess is able to break the streak by getting a layup and an and one. He thought, okay, maybe you kind of garnered a little bit of momentum there, but it just end up going back in the favor of UCLA. They go on a run. Carolina would be able to stop for a moment, but they couldn't get a stop on the other end, and it just kind of unraveled from there. And again, it was not a fun game to watch, right? Because when you watch enough South Carolina women's basketball, there's been games over the years where maybe they don't lead the entire way, but even if they're down by 8 or 10 points in the third quarter, you're like, okay, there's going to be a definitive moment in this game where South Carolina just changes something. They start getting stops, and then the entire momentum shifts over to them. They go on a run, and suddenly they find a game where they're down by 8 points to win by 12 or 14 or something like that. We've seen those kind of things happen over the years, but it was very clear as you got, especially late in the third quarter, early fourth quarter, like, no, this just isn't going to happen. There's not going to be this moment where the switch magically flips for South Carolina and all the momentum goes in their favor. They just, again, got outplayed for 4 total quarters there yesterday out in Phoenix. There was a moment there in the second quarter where South Carolina, once they switched to that 2-3 zone, started pressing on the full court, kind of briefly got the momentum back. They forced a couple quick turnovers. And we're maybe carrying a little bit into halftime. Ravens not able to get the shot off there that could have made it, an 11-point game? Yeah, 11-point game going into halftime, and they weren't able to get that. And again, whatever semblance of momentum they had at that point in time evaporated, and Carolina comes out of the locker room in the third quarter. Sloppy turnovers. UCLA goes on a 13-0 run in the third quarter, and again, that was kind of it from there, right? And again, as I've said several times throughout this year, we're just not used to this, right? We're not used to talking about South Carolina losing in general. I've been doing this job for now almost 4 total years, and we're still in the single digits in terms of losses that I've been here to talk about for the South Carolina women, because it doesn't happen very often. And when it does, it's a big deal, especially when they lose in the manner that they did by 28 total points to UCLA yesterday. But again, it's just sometimes you run into a team that's better. And UCLA, without a doubt, was a team that was truly better yesterday. And Carolina, of course, has tons of talent on its team. And that was one thing that really stuck out to me yesterday, was that nobody took the game over for South Carolina. Again, throughout this year and even through the NCAA tournament, specifically, we'd look and say, okay, Tanaya Latson, 31 points in the, was it the Oklahoma game, I believe? Or somebody else getting 20 points, 24 points. Okot getting a double-double. You just didn't have any of that in the game yesterday. Tessa Johnson leads the way with 14 points. And again, she served as kind of that streak ender for UCLA at times, where they go on a run of 8 or 10 or 12 or whatever. And then Tessa Johnson will get a basket. And you're thinking, okay, maybe this is the point in time where Carolina can steal some of that momentum back. And it just never happened, because UCLA would go on the other end and they would answer. And again, when you look at the stats on the entire day, Carolina shot under 30% from the field, 29% on their field goal percentage. They were 2 of 15 from beyond the arc. They just could not get those shots to fall to save their life over the course of the entire game. Meanwhile, UCLA, 43.5% from the field, 8 of 19 from 3. And that wasn't the only difference there, but that is a big deal when it comes to a 28-point difference in terms of the final score. And UCLA was winning off the boards, 49-37, the difference in rebounds. They were getting whatever they wanted. Lauren Betts leading the way with 11 rebounds. And, of course, we've known Lauren Betts as a really, really good player over these past couple years. And obviously, she was able to close out her college career in the best way possible with the double-double and winning the national championship. And that was one thing, too, is, kind of giving credit to UCLA now. That was a team that was so senior-laden, and they kept showing the graphic there, and I don't know if it held true to the end of the game, but at one point, UCLA had scored 170 straight points by only seniors. This was a team that had a window, right? And you have all these great players with Betts and Jaquez and Neekins and all of them that had been there for a couple years, developed and gotten close. Again, last year they were in the semifinal and came up short to UCLA. And they brought a lot of that team back, got better, developed, and got to the point where they could, beat Texas in a very competitive game on Friday night, holding them well below their season total in points scored, and doing the same thing to Carolina, albeit in a blowout game, not a tight game like they had against Texas. So, again, you have to tip your cap, and Dawn Staley did just as much after the game, where she offered praise to Corey Close and the UCLA team.
Look, I'm always happy for people who've worked hard, in this game, who are really quality people. I want good things to happen for them. And Corey is one of those people who really works at making our game better. Not just UCLA, but our entire game. She's always speaking out and uplifting our game in so many areas that it's hard to continue to do that while maintaining the job that you have to do every day, but she finds the time. So, although we didn't win, I could swallow it because we lost to a really good human being and a good team that represent women's basketball well.
It is pretty interesting, because when you think about the teams that have kind of been on Carolina's level towards the top of women's college basketball the past couple of years, obviously UConn, Texas, LSU, and I know LSU hasn't beaten them in forever, but it is kind of the premier rivalry of the sport as of right now, or at least what's presented as a rivalry, even though LSU's not winning those games. There's degrees of animosity towards those teams, and that didn't seem to really be there yesterday with UCLA. And even as unfun as it was to watch that game and watch Carolina lose in the way they did, like, you can feel respect and some happiness to some degree for UCLA, and obviously what Corey Close has done. As Dawn pointed out there, the person that she is, the way she's led that program to where it doesn't make you feel as sour losing to a team like that and a coach like that, because you do have a lot of respect for them, the way they go about their business. Obviously, you respect players like Lauren Betts for how good she's been over the course of her college career, and obviously next year you want to get your revenge on them and hopefully beat them in the process of winning a national championship yourself. But I don't think it's quite the same stinging feeling as losing like UConn was a year ago. Regardless, it sucks to lose, right? There's no two ways about that. Being able to having to come home empty-handed from your second straight national champion, or your third straight national championship appearance, second one in a row that you came home without anything, isn't fun. You saw the emotion in the locker room, the emotion from the players after the game and all that, because for a lot of them, like Raven Johnson, Denai Latson, that's the end of their college careers. Now they're going to go on to probably be very successful in the WNBA, but this sisterhood and this camaraderie they have and what they've been building for these past couple of years. Raven, opposed to Tanai, who just came in for this year, came to an end, and they didn't accomplish their ultimate goal at the end of the day, which does suck. But that wasn't the only thing that happened over the weekend. They did play a game on Friday night against UConn. We'll get into that matchup a little bit, and yes, we'll get to everything else that happened around that game too as the Extra Point rolls along. Again, Tyler Head flying solo with you this week. Jack Feltry will be back in here coming up at the beginning of next week here on your Monday on the Game.
Wow, what a play! The Game Network. Columbia, Charleston, Florence, and Myrtle Beach.
Everybody loves streaming till you have to pay for it. Just download the 107.5 The Game app and stream us for free. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet studio. Herndon Chevrolet is your hometown dealer. Stop by today or shop online 24/7 at herndonchevy.com.
Are you a small business owner, a church, or other entity in need of a new HVAC system? Well, AAA Heating and Air has exciting news for you then. AAA now offers financing to qualified organizations to aid them in installing a new light commercial HVAC system. It's as easy as calling AAA Heating and Air for a quote or finding them online at callAAAtoday.com. Tell them Jack from 107.5 The Game sent you. At AAA Heating and Air, they've got your back. They're offering up to 12-month payment plans on repairs with no credit check required. That's right. No need to worry about your credit score in this case. As long as you're a homeowner with a valid bank account, you'll be good to go. So take control of your comfort today by giving a call to AAA Heating and Air at 803-677-1500. Again, the number to call AAA is 803-677-1500. Give them a call today and breathe easy again.
Hi, I'm Glenn Matthews.
And I'm Melanie Matthews.
And we are the third generation owners of Modern Exterminating Company.
In a time when corporate consolidation, high-pressure door knockers, and inexperienced startups are becoming the norm, isn't it nice to have an experienced, local, family-owned company that you can count on since 1955?
Modern Exterminating has been the local, independent industry leader in the pest control business for the last 67 years. Experience the local, family-owned difference for yourself at 803-765-2315 or pestfreesc.com.
Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. For auto, home, and commercial glass. ShepherdsGlass.com. In Chapin and West Columbia, The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. Shepherd's Glass. Make your dream pool a reality this summer with Aquarian Pools of Columbia. Specializing in residential and commercial pool construction, Aquarian Pools of Columbia offer complimentary design services that bring your vision to life. Whether you need a new backyard oasis or your old pool needs a renovation, their expert builders are ready to deliver just in time for summer. With 54 years in business, if you can dream it, they can build it. Visit them online at aquarianpools.com or call 803-732-3636 today.
If you have nagging arthritis pain that won't go away and nothing seems to help, you may need to consider joint replacement, and that can be a little unsettling. At Midlands Orthopedics and Neurosurgery, we understand and can help put your mind at ease. Our experienced orthopedic surgeons and advanced technology enable our team to deliver consistently excellent joint replacement outcomes with no hospital stay and lower cost to you. Midlands Orthopedics and Neurosurgery.
Looking for a dealership that treats you like family? Come to Herndon Chevrolet, where we've been proudly serving Lexington and the Midlands for over 50 years. Whether you're shopping for a new or pre-owned vehicle or just need expert service, you'll find it all right here. Shop online anytime at herndonchevy.com or stop by and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
Herndon Chevrolet, Herndon makes you wanna smile. Smile.
The cost of higher ed seems higher than ever. So for most, there's a difference between what scholarships cover and what school really costs. Fortunately, South Carolina Student Loan has been helping students and families close that price tag gap for 50 years. We're here for you to help cover tuition, books, meals, housing, and other educational expenses. Plus, because we're a not-for-profit, we're able to offer competitive rates and flexible options. So get the money you need for school today at scstudentloan.org.
Hate paying for streaming? Well, the 107.5 The Game app is free. Yes, free. Just download the 107.5 The Game app.
The Extra Point.
And the kick is good!
With Tyler Head and Jack Beltry from Gamecock Central. On the Game Network, the 107.5 The Game app, and the Game TV radio on YouTube.
All right, welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you here, flying solo with you today and this week on the Extra Point. Again, Jack will be back in here coming up at the beginning of next week, and we can get all of his thoughts on everything that he missed this week when he is back in here. Of course, we're reacting to South Carolina falling once again in the national championship game for the second year in a row, this time to UCLA 79-51 out there at the Mortgage Match Arena in Phoenix. And again, Elijah Campbell had been out there covering things all week long, and I know he's going to be happy to get back to Columbia after a long flight home later on today. And of course, you know, the major thing that's going to be talked about coming away from this weekend or remember for years to come is what happened, you know, in the national championship game and coming up short, not having the title and all that. But there was another game this weekend, and that was South Carolina taking the victory over UConn on Friday night. Dawn Staley, after yesterday's game, did talk about just kind of summing up the weekend as a whole.
I mean, it's great. We got a chance to play on the last day of college women's basketball, a season of a lot of great basketball, great talent, great coaching, just great viewership, great. I mean, when you're in this position, you don't win all of them. I mean, there are too many great teams out here, too many great players and coaches that decrease your chances of winning national championships. The trick is to continue to get here. And the more you get here, the more you increase your chances of winning. So we got a lot of work cut out for us, but I really enjoyed the weekend. I enjoy, you know, every challenge that basketball creates. I enjoy facing them. I enjoy playing the hand that I'm dealt. And this weekend includes that.
Yeah, 6 straight Final Fours. Again, the last 2 have not gone the way you wanted it to, but you still were able to make the national championship game, and I don't think anybody doubts that Carolina's going to continue to be in the mix for Final Fours, not only next year, but for years to come as well. And again, I don't want to get lost that, hey, you did go out there and beat the number 1 overall seed, the previously unbeaten for the prior 54 game UConn Huskies on Friday night. And yes, I'll get to the Geno stuff, you know, coming up here in a minute, but that was a masterclass in just playing your best and, quite frankly, out-coaching the opponent, which is what South Carolina did on Friday night. And it's weird because, you know, so much energy and focus went into this game on Friday night from, like, what the conversation was, right? And, again, that's the task you have ahead of you, as it always is, before even reaching the national championship. But I don't know if you share the same feeling, but after they won the game on Friday night, and it was kind of like, oh, okay, now they got to play for a national championship on Sunday. Like, that was something that seemed like it was so far from, at least my mind, when previewing the weekend and all that kind of stuff. Like, man, the UConn Boulder was such a tough one to push up the hill that you couldn't really think of anything past that. So they go out there, they dominate UConn, win at 62-48. Again, you get phenomenal performances from so many of your best players tonight. Latson goes out there, gets a double-double. Okot grabs 9 rebounds. You know, Joyce and Tessa scored in double figures. Agat McKeer goes out there and has an incredible game off the bench for South Carolina. You went out there and did exactly what you needed to do. And again, you end up coming up short in the national championship. But there is something to be said about going out there and taking down the number 1 seed and ending a team that hadn't, you know, lost a game in a year and a half, a team that beat you not only in the national championship game last year, but in the regular season as well. So you finally got your lick back on them, albeit it didn't net the ultimate result that you wanted over the course of the weekend, but that was still a significant accomplishment, preventing UConn from even getting to the national championship for a second year in a row. And when you culminate everything with coming up short and what this season has been, a lot of people, ask the question of, okay, does that make this season a failure because South Carolina wasn't able to ultimately win the national championship? And Dawn Staley was asked about that after the game as well on how she addresses that question.
Well, we feel the pressure anytime we lose a basketball game. Everyone goes crazy when we lose one basketball game. It's hard out here. It really is hard in our sport. We do feel the pressure. We're used to winning, and we're used to winning at a pretty high clip. How long you sustain that, we don't know. We just try to wake up, every day and just be better than we were the day before. To get here is hard, and to win here is harder, right? So we just have to keep getting here and just, make adjustments when we don't win. So obviously we got smacked today. We got to figure out how we smack back and put ourselves in a position where we're hoisting the trophy at the end of the day.
For these kind of things, perspective is so important, right? And it speaks volumes to the standard that Dawn Staley has set here in the past decade, that not winning the national championship, playing for it, but not winning the national championship can be looked at as some people as a failure of a season. Now, if we rewind the clock to a decade ago, and I would have told you, hey, in 10 years, you're going to be coming off of your 6th straight Final Four appearance, 3rd straight appearance in the national championship game, and, people are going to think that season isn't enough. You'd say, hey, I'd take that in a heartbeat, considering the history and where the South Carolina women's basketball program had been for so many years prior to Dawn getting here. And if you fast forward to a decade from now, I don't know if Dawn Staley's still going to be coaching or not. I don't know who's going to be at the helm. I don't know what shape this program is going to be in at that point in time, but you may look back and say, maybe I should have appreciated those 6 straight Final Four appearances. And yeah, losing the national championship wasn't fun, but that's still a great season, all things considered. But again, I understand why the question's being asked, because of what this team accomplishes year in and year out and where that standard is. And like I said, I fully expect, Columbus next year is where the women's Final Four is going to be. I fully expect that they're going to be there for the 7th straight year. And if you're one of those people that's already booking your hotels for Columbus in April of 2027, I'm not going to say you're crazy, because, again, that's what the expectation is. Now, I certainly hope we'll be able to come in the Monday following that Final Four and be talking about them actually winning a national championship again. That would be great. But we'll see. A lot of basketball and a lot of things this offseason that are going to change and happen. A lot of basketball certainly will be played when next season ultimately does roll around. But I don't think it should get lost in the shuffle of coming up short of winning the national championship, that, as we've said so many times, this was probably Dawn's best coaching job, with all the adversity that she and this team had to face and deal with over the course of the season when it came to injuries, when it came to 2 of your key players not even being available for the season. Chloe Kitts with her injury, Ashlyn Watkins with her stuff and being away from the team. Not to mention the injuries you dealt with throughout the season, your players getting suspended and then those kind of things, and still, through all that, finding a way to get yourself to the national championship. I hope something you build off of. This team's going to look a lot different next year with several players like Raven and Tanaya moving on to their professional careers, and we certainly wish them the best of luck with the WNBA draft coming up at the beginning of next week, and there's going to be moves in the portal and all those kind of things. But in looking back on this year, it's still one that you can look at a lot of positives from and say, hey, despite the ending, there was a lot of fun times throughout the season, and a lot of great moments, a lot of great plays, a lot of great players as well. And many of them will be back again next year to build off this and hopefully, learn from it and get themselves back to winning a national championship, hopefully in 2027. But again, I understand why that narrative is out there, a failure of a season and all that kind of stuff, because Don Staley and this team, this program, set the bar so high on a year-in, out basis, anything short of coming home with the trophy is going to be seen as unacceptable. But again, all things considered, I think this was still very much a successful season. All right, coming up next, we'll get into it. The story on Friday, unfortunately, wasn't South Carolina beating UConn. It was Gino Auriemma and all of his antics. And we'll go through this step by step, and we'll decide how we feel about it coming up next. It is The Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you here on your Monday on The Game.
This hour of in-show listening on 107.5 The Game is sponsored by QC Kinetics in West Columbia, the non-surgical regenerative orthopedic specialists of the Midlands. Request your consultation today by dialing pound 250 and use keyword QC Kinetics.
All my sports. The Game Network. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 96.9 The Game in Charleston. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. And 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Not sure how to tackle your taxes? Are you sweating the small print? You may be experiencing FOMO, the fear of messing up. The answer? Using TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then we help you do more with it, with a personalized plan designed to help you hit your money goals. It's time to take your taxes to the max. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell. Cordell & Cordell is the largest family law firm in the country with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. If you or someone you care about is facing a family law issue, let us set up a 1-hour Cordell Consult. The Cordell Consult is a meeting with a local attorney who will give you clear guidance about your options, whether it's a separation, a postnuptial agreement, divorce, or custody. Visit CordellCordell.com.
1201 Main Street, Columbia.
Join the Lexington Health Foundation for the McDaniels Golf Classic, returning Friday, April 24th at beautiful Fort Jackson Golf Club. Enjoy an all-inclusive day of golf with all meals provided, beer carts, hospitality tents, games, prizes, and more. Presented by McDaniels Auto Group. Proceeds benefit the McDaniels Pucci Cancer Fund to support patients and families at Lexington Health Cancer Center from diagnosis to survivorship. Golf teams and sponsorships are available at McDanielsGolfClassic.com.
Did you know about 1 in 3 people with plaque psoriasis may also develop psoriatic arthritis, which causes joint pain, stiffness, and swelling? Does this sound like you? Listen to what it sounds like to be a million miles away. Tremfya guselkumab, taken by injection, is a prescription medicine for adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who may benefit from taking injections or pills or phototherapy, and for adults with active psoriatic arthritis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Imagine being a million miles away. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya. Visit Tremfya.com or call 1-800-526-7736.
Attention music fans, the 3rd annual Meeting Street Music Fest is happening April 17th and 18th in West Columbia. This award-winning 2-day festival features 11 incredible bands, including national headliner Sugar Ray, plus amazing food, drinks, and fun, and it's completely free. Join us Friday from 6 to 8 at the West Columbia Amphitheater and Saturday from 3 to 9 along Meeting Street. Make it a weekend getaway and experience one of the Southeast's fastest-growing music festivals. Learn more at meetingstreetmusicfest.com. That's meetingstreetmusicfest.com.
This is Larry Leitner, owner and founder of Midstate Roofing, and for nearly 30 years, we've continued to be the proven leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. Midstate Roofing's proven history is your assurance that our professionals at Midstate Roofing will provide the proper advice, service, and results to the needs of your facility in a manner both safe and pleasing to your operation. From high-rise to hospitals, manufacturing to industrial, Midstate Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that will keep your operation dry and running long into the future. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And this is Blake Leitner, reminding you to protect that roof with a maintenance contract. Call me today at 803-356-1919 or online at midstateroofing.com. That's midstateroofing.com.
You'll speak to an on-call technician after hours or a Midstate Roofing staff member during hours at 803-356-1919 or online at midstateroofing.com. And as always, Tell them, Mid-State Twins.
If you have a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek.
Powered by Integrated Media. The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. For auto, home, and commercial glass. ShepherdsGlass.com. In Chapin and West Columbia. The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. Shepherd's Glass.
The Extra Point.
And the kick is good!
With Tyler Head and Jack Beltry from Gamecock Central on the Game Network, the 107.5 The Game app, and at the Game TV radio on YouTube.
All right, welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you here on your Monday on the Game. Recapping the weekend that was for the women's Final Four out there in Phoenix. Of course, Carolina comes up short to UCLA 79-51 on Sunday, but Friday night they pick up the win over the number 1 overall seed, the previously unbeaten, going well back into last year, UConn Huskies. And the story of the game, unfortunately, coming away from it was not South Carolina outplaying UConn, was not Dawn Staley out coaching Gino Auriemma. It was Gino Auriemma and his meltdown, for lack of a better term, that occurred over the course of the game and well after the game on Friday night. So let's kind of go in order here a little bit where things started, and that's with his in-game interview between the third and fourth quarters with Holly Rowe. And here's what Gino said.
Coach, a kind of wild turn of events. Sarah Strong's jersey is split right down the middle. I saw you speaking to the refs about it. What message did you try to convey?
Right. There were 6 fouls called that quarter, all of them against us. And they've been beating out of our guys down there the entire game. And I'm not making excuses because we haven't been able to make a shot. But this is ridiculous. Their coach rants and raves on the sideline and calls the referee some names you don't want to hear. And now we get 6-0, and I got a kid with a ripped jersey, and they go, I didn't see it. Come on, man. This is for the national championship.
So that's where it began, right? And I, tweeted about it. Oh, Gino's mad, and we all had a good laugh about it. And if it stopped right there, this isn't a story, right? It's something that we talk about and address in the moment, and we move on from it. There's not articles written about it. We're not dedicating a segment to it on the show today or anything like that. National talking heads aren't talking about Gino's, in-game fourth quarter interview. And if it had just, I can even give him a little bit of grace for that moment right there. Right? Because it's in game, it's competitive, you're in a tight game, in the Final Four, for the opportunity to stay undefeated and play for another, national championship. And, like any coach, you're going to try and work the officials. And if you think, the fouls are not going in your favor, you can be fired up about that. Okay, whatever. And the situation with Sarah Strong, where, if she comes over to the huddle and her jersey's ripped in half and you don't have the context, you're going to probably assume as the coach that the other team is responsible. Now, we quickly saw on the video replay after the interview you did with Holly Rowe, that was not the case, that she tore the jersey herself. But again, in that moment, I can give Gino a little bit of grace because of everything going on. Maybe you don't have the full context of what exactly happened. And again, if we leave it at that, nothing else happens. This is not a story at all. But it kept going. Obviously, we know what happened with the handshake at the end of the game, where he says something to Dawn Staley, and they start jabbing back and forth, have to be separated and all that kind of stuff. And then we get into the post-game presser. And Gino was asked, of course, right off the jump. By the way, because I was watching it live, there's 20,000 people watching this presser live. I went back and looked at the numbers yesterday. 133,000 people viewed the presser on March Madness YouTube page, far more than any other press conference or out the entirety of the men's and women's tournament so far this year, mainly because Gino and wanting to see what he would say after this meltdown on Friday. And, of course, right off the jump, he was asked, hey, what happened with the handshake?
What exactly happened in the end of the game there in the last second with the handshake line with you and Dawn?
I said what I had to say, and nothing.
Clearly not nothing. because you were upset enough about this to start the scene there at the end of the game. And then when the game actually ends, because there was like a second or so on the game clock when they were doing this, he just walks off the court. He doesn't, go through the handshake line, doesn't acknowledge any of South Carolina's players or anything like that. He just takes a sad, lonely walk back to the locker room. And, if that goes down, and then in the post game he's up there saying, "Hey, I got caught in the moment. I let my emotions get the best of me. I'm sorry. I apologize," and all that kind of stuff, maybe we can give him a little bit more of a pass. But he just kept doubling down on everything, right? And this handshake was the crux of the entire matter. And I want to give credit to Chapel Fowler of the state newspaper, who was in the press conference there, who said, "Hey, there's a photo of you guys shaking hands before the game. What's that about?"
Chapel Fowler with the state. You talked about the handshake. There's pictures of you guys and videos, pregame handshake. Was your frustration that it took a while for her to get over there, or was this a separate instance pregame versus the one that was on social media?
No, I think you missed the point of what I'm talking about. So I'd rather not go into it. Anybody that's been in the NCAA tournament, you know what I'm talking about.
And now he's being vague, right? Here's your opportunity to really give us details on what you're upset about. And you're like, no, despite the fact you have a picture and a video showing these two shaking hands before the game. That's not what I'm talking about. If you've not been here, you don't know what I'm talking about. Eventually, we get a little bit more from Gino about what this whole handshake fiasco was before the game.
No, I mean, for 41 years I've been coaching and I've been, 30, 25 Final Fours. And the protocol is before the game, you meet at half court. Anybody ever see that before? Two coaches meet at half court and they shake hands. Correct? You ever see it? They announce it on the loudspeaker. And I waited there for like 3 minutes. So it is what it is.
So apparently there is a ceremonial shaking of hands at half court that apparently gets announced in the arena or what. I've not been to a Final Four. I don't know. Most people watching what happened over the weekend haven't been either and don't understand that context. And I listened to Elijah, who's been to the last several Final Fours representing our radio station for women's basketball. He even said, "Hey, I don't really know what he's talking about, or something getting announced or whatever." And even if this is a ceremonial thing that is proper for both coaches to do before a Final Four game, before an NCAA tournament game, whatever it may be, why is this such a big deal? Why after going through 4 quarters of basketball, is that the thing at the top of your mind when going to shake Dawn Staley's hand after she, quite frankly, kicked your butt? Why blow that out of proportion? And that gets into the debate coming away from this. And I heard Andrea Carter on the broadcast afterwards as they were getting set for Texas and UCLA, as well as many people with publications and podcasts and TV and all that kind of stuff, talking about, was this Gino trying to cause a distraction, right? Was this him realizing that his team got their butts kicked, his best players did not play their best, he got outcoached by Dawn Staley once again, and trying to make it about him as opposed to his team being shamed, right? And as I heard this being talked about, in the moment, I could believe it a little bit, right? Like, okay, maybe that's what he's doing. Because, again, this is such a ridiculous hill to die on. I don't know why Gino would want to go down this path instead of just admitting, like, hey, we got beat, we got outplayed or whatever. But as the weekend went along and I read more and listened more to all these different narratives out there about and stories about Gino in his past for what he's done, I really, to me, and please let me know what you think and if you think differently on the Firehouse Subs text line at 803-404-6100. To me, this is just an example of Gino's fragile ego, right? This guy has accomplished so much in the game of women's basketball. He's a Hall of Famer. He's going to be remembered as one of the greatest of all time, but this guy can't accept losing. And that's a shame because, again, he's been doing this for 4 decades. He's had a share of losses. He's had a share of success. And it's clear he doesn't like Dawn Staley, right? Like, I think that goes without saying. And he just couldn't stomach the fact that, once again, he got outcoached by her. Once again, his best players couldn't show up while South Carolina's did. and they lost. And this was a perfect example of how fragile his ego is. Whether he believed what he was saying on Friday or not, he had a platform. He had his stance on how things went down. He had something he was going to be mad about, and he was going to scream until he was blue in the face and make everybody else feel like they were idiots to try and push this narrative of what he believed he was right about and Dawn was wrong about. And I give Dawn Staley all the credit in the world. Take the high road, because she could have taken ample shots at Gino for acting like a petulant child on the biggest stage in women's basketball. She didn't do that. Her consistent message was, I don't want to take the narrative away from my players, my team, and the way they played. And even throughout the weekend, she wasn't taking the bait of poking at Gino, right? Not trying to feed into that fire anymore. So I give my tip of the cap to Dawn Staley for that, taking the high road, being the bigger person, being the better person. We're all competitors, right? Nobody likes to lose. But when you're in the position, when you make as much money, when you've accomplished as much as Gino Auriemma has in his college career, there's a standard for how you should compose yourself in these kind of situations, and Gino failed at that. Now, we'll get into his apology and what Dawn had to say in terms of him reaching out over the weekend coming up next, and also get to some of your text messages as well on the Firehouse Subs text line at 803-404-6100. As we wrap up hour number one, it is the Extra Point. It's our head along with you here on The Game.
Wow, what a play. The Game Network. Columbia, Charleston, Florence, and Myrtle Beach.
Powered by Integrated Media. The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. For auto, home, and commercial glass. ShepherdsGlass.com. In Chapin and West Columbia. The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. Shepherd's Glass.
This is a Westwood One Sports Minute.
15 years at the helm in Westwood, head coach Corey Close finally secured her first national championship. Not only is it the crowning achievement of her career, but it marks the first ever NCAA title in program history. The UCLA women completely overwhelming South Carolina. Close and her senior-led team reached glory. I'm Drake Toll.
I checked Allstate first and saved hundreds on my car insurance. Really smart. Unfortunately, I didn't check if I took the gas hose out of my car's tank. Ooh, not smart. And I drove off while still attached to pump number 3.
Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds.
Potential savings vary, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate North American Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
No one likes having to choose. That's why with America's best lineup of hybrids from Hyundai, you get the best of both worlds. Like the reliable and efficient Tucson Hybrid with America's best warranty. Or the stylish yet capable Santa Fe Hybrid with power to navigate the toughest terrain. It's like having your cake and eating it too. You know, if you could drive a cake. Hybrids from Hyundai. It's the best of both worlds. Visit HyundaiUSA.com or call 562-314-4603 for more details.
If you owe back taxes, listen carefully to rule number 1. Never go up against the IRS alone. They're cracking down, freezing bank accounts, garnishing paychecks, canceling passports. Even your home or business could be at risk. But here's what they don't tell you. The IRS has powerful tax relief programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. That's why smart people call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. Nobody knows these programs like the experts at Optima. Their team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $2 billion in tax debt for people just like you. The IRS is not stopping, so don't wait and don't take them on alone. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima today for a free consultation.
Call 800-608-0955. 800-608-0955. 800-608-0955.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Progressive knows life takes you in many directions.
Bear right at exit 32, then begin to wonder why you never bought a fish tank. In 1.3 miles, you'll realize you've been mispronouncing epitome your whole life. At the roundabout, you will remember you said something at dinner you wish you hadn't and will think about it for decades. You have arrived at your destination, but it turns out there really is no destination and life just keeps going.
Wherever life takes you, protect your home and auto with a bundle from Progressive.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
It's tax time, y'all. If you want to file free, this next one's for you.
Now taxes is so free. Tax-free edition only. Roughly 37% of filers qualify. Simple form 1040 returns only. Now this is taxes.
Love that jam. Up next, commercials.
Intuit TurboTax Free Edition. See if you qualify at turbotax.com/free. Don't miss the deadline. File by 4/15. No schedules except for earned income tax credit, child tax credit, student loan interest, and Schedule 1A.
The Extra Point.
And the kick is good!
With Tyler Head and Jack Beltry from Gamecock Central. On the Game Network, the 107.5, the Game app, and the Game TV radio on YouTube.
Yes, that's a Gino question, right? It really is a Gino question. I haven't heard from Gino, so I have not. I haven't. I mean, I got 800 text messages, so I don't know if he texted or not. But that's not, like, I don't want to, like, it's UCLA's day, right? And let's keep it UCLA, them winning the national championship. You know, again, I will address all of that at another time. It's just not this weekend. Like, we're not going to damper UCLA's day with it. We talk about South Carolina, us losing. We could talk about, UCLA winning the national championship and what's great about our game today.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Points. Our head wrapping up hour number one here on your Monday on the Game. Don Staley yesterday when asked, hey, did Gino said that he reached out to Don Staley, and that was Don Staley, acknowledging, hey, I haven't heard anything. Now, again, she said she had 800 text messages, so maybe it's lost in there somewhere. I would hope Gino would do more than just send her a text message in terms of offering a proper apology. But, again, Don Staley said that she'll provide more details as time goes along. Didn't want to take that moment away from UCLA and obviously how well they played in winning the national championship yesterday, which, again, hats off Don Staley for taking the high road on all this and not sinking down to Gino's level. He put out an apology, on Twitter on Saturday, half-baked apology. Doesn't even mention Don Staley by name. I question if he even wrote it or some staffer or ChatGPT or whatever. Just something, because at some point somebody probably got to him like, hey, you look like an idiot, and there's not a person in the world that's agreeing with you right now. You need to try and save face from this best you can. So apologies out there for whatever that is worth. I gave my thoughts on this. Appreciate you guys weighing in on the Firehouse Subs text line at 803-404-6100. Robert says, Gino still can't handle the fact that UConn is no longer the hunted. The rest of the country is caught up, and they cannot handle losing. And I agree with that. Carolina's won 6 out of the last 8 against them. Now, yeah, UConn got the better of them in their 2 matchups last year, and that's why, I said last week leading into this game that I thought that's kind of the situation UConn found themselves in to maybe reclaim the throne of women's basketball officially if they were able to beat South Carolina and win back-to-back national championships in an undefeated season. People might be willing to say, hey, I know Dawn kind of had her run, but it looks like Gino's back on top. And I think the fact that once again Dawn got the better of him where they weren't able to string together multiple national championships once again like you've done so many times in years past, that probably really, really got under his skin. And I do think that added to the meltdown that we saw on Friday. Again, I refuse to believe that this is all revolving around a handshake or lack thereof or whatever. This is a glimpse into the fragile ego of Gino Auriemma and how he can't handle losing, and especially can't handle losing to Dawn Staley. If he loses this game to Corey Close in UCLA on Friday, if he loses this game to Vic Schaefer in Texas on Friday, he's not doing this, right? It's very clear the relationship that Dawn and Gino have is prickly, much like the relationship that Gino had with Pat Summitt back in the day. And you can dive into the whole rabbit hole of what that was like, right? Very, very similar here. And I think that comes out of fear because Gino realizes that's his match. That is somebody that can best him, especially recently, more often than not. And that scares him, right? It's very clear he is afraid of that. He's afraid that he's no longer at the top of the women's basketball mountain because of Dawn Staley, right? And it's not just Dawn Staley. There are other programs that have caught up, certainly. But Dawn Staley is the main sticking point for him. It looks very clear from how things transpired on Friday. Jacob weighs in and says it was frustrating as the Gino took away from Dawn and the team beating UConn. Him being selfish took away from what the narrative should have been all weekend. Exactly, and that's why Dawn, every time she was asked about it, was pushed back like, hey, I'm not trying to make this more of a thing than it already is, because for Friday, she wanted to make sure that her team was getting the praise for beating the number 1 overall seed and previously undefeated UConn. And then on Sunday, she didn't want to take the spotlight away from UCLA. If Dawn goes on a rant in the postgame presser about, her thoughts on Gino and what she really thinks, then that's headlines, right? And that takes away from the story of what Corey Close and UCLA did, her first title in 15 years, their first proper NCAA championship, because that's the respect that Dawn has for competitors that Gino very clearly doesn't. And Gino can be all happy and smiley and huggy when they're winning and they're dominating, but when the shoe's on the other foot, it's very clear he can't handle losing, especially to Dawn Staley. Nameless text says he waited like 20 seconds, not 3 minutes, approval upon rewatch. And in his head, maybe it felt like 3 minutes. I don't know. But again, it just goes into him continuing to feed these lies over the course of this press conference on Friday of like whatever he had to say to make it fit his narrative. That if he felt like he was standing out there for 3 minutes to make this look worse on Dawn Staley's front, he was going to do that. But again, when you see the video, it doesn't look like it was all that long. And again, Elijah was in the arena, and he said when apparently this was happening, Dawn was in the huddle coaching her team. I don't know about you, but I think it's far more important. And hey, maybe Gino should have been coaching his team, right? I think it's far more important for a coach to be in the huddle addressing their team before what at that point is the biggest game of your entire season, with a chance to go to the national championship on the line, as opposed to a second handshake with a coach or whatever it may be. I don't know if this was still in the same time frame of when that video and picture of them shaking hands actually was, but regardless, it's ridiculous, right? And hey, again, maybe Gino should have taken more time to coach his own team and they wouldn't have gotten beaten by 14 points and had to watch the national championship on Sunday instead of playing in it. But again, it's ridiculous. Gino looks like a you-know-what, and hopefully he's aware of that now, because the entire sports world is against him on this one. Rightfully so. 1 hour in the books. Coming up in hour number 2, we'll get into Gamecock baseball, as well as the men's Final Four and previewing the national championship coming up tonight. That's all coming up in hour number 2 on the Extra Point here on the Game.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet studio. Herndon Chevrolet is your hometown dealer. Stop by today or shop online 24/7 at herndonchevy.com.
Time right here for our friends over at Twin Peaks, right down the street from us here in the Vista in Columbia. As I just mentioned, there is another big championship game coming up tonight, and the only place to catch all that great action with our friends over at Twin Peaks. It's been a crazy March up to this point, and you want to end up celebrating the end of the tournament in the right way with our friends over at Twin Peaks. Grab a bar stool, order yourself some delicious scratch-made food from their kitchen, and of course, get yourself one of those 29-degree draft beers and catch all the great basketball action coming up later on tonight. But don't just stop there. We're in springtime. We got pro baseball, pro basketball about to start their postseason. Hockey about to start their postseason. Tons and tons of things going on. Only one place to catch all that great action with TVs as far as the eye can see, and so much more with our friends at Twin Peaks Columbia. Eats, drinks, and scenic views.
Running a business means wearing multiple hats. So if you're like me, you probably started out using your personal phone, taking client calls and texts nonstop. As my business grew, I needed something smarter. That's when I switched to Quo, the #1 business phone system. Quo works right on your phone or computer. No carrying 2 phones, no clunky landline, just one easy app you can try for free. Your team can share one number and handle calls and texts together like a shared inbox. Any teammate can jump into the conversation, so customers get faster responses. And Quo's AI assistant summarizes your calls and responds to customers 24/7, so you never miss a lead or opportunity. All this starts at just $15 a month. That's basically 2 coffees. You can even keep your current business phone number. Find out why 90,000 businesses trust Quo. No missed calls, no missed customers. Try Quo for free at quo.com/sports. That's quo.com/sports to try Quo free. QUO.com/SPORTS.
Join the Lexington Health Foundation for the McDaniels Golf Classic, returning Friday, April 24th at beautiful Fort Jackson Golf Club. Enjoy an all-inclusive day of golf with all meals provided, beer carts, hospitality tents, games, prizes, and more. Presented by McDaniels Auto Group. Proceeds benefit the McDaniels Pucci Cancer Fund to support patients and families at Lexington Health Cancer Center, from diagnosis to survivorship. Golf teams and sponsorships are available at McDanielsGolfClassic.com.
Taxes was waiting on the refund you needed yesterday.
All right, your car repair is going to run about $3,000.
Now Taxes is getting back on the road with TurboTax and Credit Karma, where you can get your refund up to 5 days faster and get personalized guidance to take every dollar further. Now this is Taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. Deposit a federal refund into Credit Karma Money account and early submission of refund data by IRS required. Terms apply. Banking services provided by MVB Bank, Inc. Member FDIC. Credit Karma is not a bank.
Bill Gunner for AAA Heating and Air. The spring is here. Dust, pollen, spring cleaning, all those important things. But have you even thought about the air quality inside your home? How are those air ducts holding up? Well, AAA Heating and Air is ready to help you. Visit them on the website. Call AAAtoday.com. Again, that's call AAAtoday.com. Call AAA Heating and Air and tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
AAA Air when you need us. AAA Heating and Air.
Vista Roofing, your local CertainTeed Select Shingle Master. Looking for a roof that's built to last? Trust the certified experts at Vista Roofing for professional installation, top-tier materials, and peace of mind backed by industry-leading warranties. From repairs to full replacements, Vista Roofing delivers durable results and exceptional service. Call now or visit VistaRoofingINC.com to schedule your free estimate. Vista Roofing, raising the standard one shingle at a time.
Home for the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game. WNKT Eastover, Columbia. A Cumulus media station.
Oh, yeah?
The Extra Point with Tyler Head.
And the kick is good.
Call or text 803-404-6100 on the Game Network.
Welcome back in. Hour number 2. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head again flying solo with you here on your Monday on the Game. And we'll be over the course of the entire week. Jack Veltri, again, getting a much-deserved couple days off as, again, the men's teams have sent him all over the place, particularly in the Southeast, over the course of the spring so far. Again, he drove like 2,500 miles between Nashville and Gainesville and all that a few weeks ago. So taking a few days off, and he wasn't interested in going on the road trip to Missouri for Gamecock baseball this upcoming weekend, and I don't blame him. That never sounds like a fun experience for anybody when they go on the road there. So, again, we'll get Jack back in studio. Coming up next Monday, we'll be able to recap the Masters at that point, too. So that'll be a lot of fun to talk about as Jack very big into golf, obviously. For Gamecock baseball, it was interesting, right? Because Friday, there was a sense of excitement, right? That maybe there was an opportunity for Carolina to do a little something to swing some momentum back in their favor for what's largely been a disappointing year, right? Because they pick up not only a win on Thursday night against Texas, but a dominant win, right? If they lose that game 3-2, we're looking at it, in a different way than the way they ultimately won with what I thought at one point in time was going to be a run rule, as they had the 9-1 lead and had the opportunity to drive in more runners late in that game. But you pick up an eight-run win over the number 2 team in the country in the first game of the series. It creates a lot of intrigue for the rest of the weekend. That as we were positioning on Friday, like, hey, if they can find a way to win at least one of these games, certainly if they sweep, then you've got something you can build off of, right? You have an easier series this upcoming weekend against Missouri where you can really maybe kind of turn that record back in your favor as you get into the meat of SEC play. Now, again, it still would have been an uphill battle to get yourself in any kind of position to enter the postseason conversation, but winning the series against a team like Texas, certainly if you swept them, would have at least given you a thought like, hey, maybe they can turn this around. Maybe they can pull this off and turn this season into something. Unfortunately, the rest of the weekend that followed on Friday and Saturday was nowhere near as good as what Thursday night was. And unfortunately, as we kind of learned, Thursday is where they ultimately left all their offense for the entire weekend. Because, again, you score 9 runs in that game and proceed to only score 4 more runs the entire weekend on 6 total hits. And I'm sorry, 4 runs and 6 hits over the course of 18 innings. Probably not going to get it done against anybody. And it wasn't enough to get it done against Texas. Now, coming away from this, the story is, hey, Texas didn't get off to a good start, rebounded, was able to get a win on the road win a series on the road in the SEC, and Carolina continues to be plagued by these consistent offensive issues. And that's something that Monty Lee talked about after the game on Sunday, was the offensive issues they suffered between games 2 and 3.
Look, I think the biggest thing was both of their starters were really good. I mean, just, honestly, I thought Harrison and Volantis both were just very, very good. And they didn't make a lot of mistakes, a lot of off-speed pitches, and a lot of off-speed pitches that were either in the strike zone or looked to be in the strike zone, and then right at the last second, would fade out of the strike zone. Just thought that they made pitches. They made it really, really hard on us. They didn't give us anything. I mean, we only had 1 walk and a hit by pitch. I mean, they just did not really give us anything. And again, we didn't have a lot of 3-2 counts where we could have won a pitch and got on base. But ultimately, I think that was it. They just pitched really well. And then, I mean, shoot, Burns comes in. He's 96, 97, whatever he was. LeFew is really good, and Cozart is one of the best relievers in the country. So they've got great pitching. But look, that's part of it, right? I mean, that's part of playing in this league, and you got to find a way. You just got to find a way to be more effective than we were. And again, I know the kids are doing the best they can, but as a coach, we've got to find a way to help them. We've got to find a way to get them, from an approach standpoint, a little bit better, and we've got to find a way to coach the guys in a way that we can compete against pitching like this, and that's just all there is to it. So I think the kids are doing the very best they can, but as coaches, we got to do a better job of getting them better.
And we knew that going into the weekend that Texas is good at everything, right? From a staff standpoint, low ERA, don't walk a ton of guys. Again, you were able to work Riojas on Thursday out of the game pretty quickly, but the rest of the weekend ended up following suit. Again, you got 4 more runs on 6 total hits with 28 strikeouts over the course of the weekend. So, despite the fact that we feel like this team's better than when, Mainieri was here, and I said this to Jack on Friday, that, that 9-1 win for Carolina on Thursday, I thought, well, if Mainieri's coaching that game, they probably lose it like 12-1 and get run ruled in their own park or something along those lines. So they are playing better, but they're still not able to get the job done. Because here's the thing, pitching is still doing their job pretty well. I mean, you hold Texas to 10 total runs over the course of 3 games for a team that was coming in here scoring a ton, one of the highest-scoring offenses in the SEC, a lot of power in their lineup. You're keeping these teams grounded for the most part. Same thing with Georgia the prior weekend. You took what was the most explosive offense in the SEC and held them in check for the most part for 3 games. So your pitching staff has been doing their job, whether it be the starters or the bullpen relief. Like, these guys are doing what they need to do to keep you in those games. It's just the offense that's not able to go out there and get the job done. Monty Lee was asked an interesting question after the game yesterday, where I think it was John Whittle that said, what's the gap between where you guys are at right now and these teams that you're losing to? Very good teams. Again, Georgia was in the 7th when they played the prior weekend. Arkansas was 5th. Texas was 2nd. So, like, you're hanging in there with the best teams in the country. You just can't close the door on them. You can't have all 3 facets of the game, offense, defense, and pitching, put it all together for an entire weekend to start grabbing some of these series. You can do it for 1 game, and darn near should have done it for 2 games. But again, against Arkansas, but again, that's where your defense let you down because of the Scobie error. We had some issues this past weekend as well. They're just not able to put it all together for the course of 3 games, and that's frustrating. Here's Monty Lee talking about the gap between Carolina and these other teams.
That's a good question. I think that each one of those teams is a little bit different, okay? So when you look at, like, for instance, like a team like a Georgia's got so much power, okay? When you look at a team that hits for that much power, well, and they play on turf, right? Why'd they turf their field? Why? Because they want to have big sluggers all over the field that, turf creates no bad hops whatsoever. So they kind of build a roster to the playing surface that they have. They want a slug and they want power arms. So they want their 27 outs, a lot of them, to come via strikeout because they don't have a ton of guys that defend the field as like a Texas does. Does that make sense? But they absolutely just obliterate the baseball, right? So if they make a couple errors, well, they're going to hit some 3-run homers. They can overcome that. That's what they've built their roster to do on power bats and power arms, right? And they were fine defensively against us, okay? But when you play a team like that, you've got to keep the ball down, and you can't make any mistakes when it comes to the free 90. They're very disciplined. And you walk a couple guys, they're going to hit a 3-run homer. It makes it really hard. Okay, team like Texas, they didn't. I didn't feel like. Look, they didn't swing the bats great. This weekend we pitched pretty well, but when you pitch the way that they pitched, you can't give them anything in regards to defensive miscues. You give up 1 run that you shouldn't have given up, 2 runs. That could be the difference in the ball game. Just look at the game today. We gave them 2 runs there in the first inning, and the rest is history. So I just think the margin for error is small, and how we compare to those teams, we need to be able to play our best baseball in all phases as often as we can to be able to compete with those teams.
And he's right. That margin for error is incredibly thin when you're playing teams consistently in the top 10 in the SEC. And that's what makes the way this season's unfolding all the more frustrating, right? Because, let's say the change at head coach doesn't happen a couple weeks ago. Paul Maneri stays on as the head man, and instead of, playing these teams tight, you're getting beat by 8-10 runs every single time, and nothing's really working well. Then we just kind of chalk it up and say, all right, well, this is just a bad team, bad coaching, whatever it may be. They're not good enough to even be in the conversation with these teams. So it can make it, I guess, a little bit easier to swallow. But I feel like every single time in these past couple of weeks when we come away having to talk about these losses, we're looking at these small little things. Hey, get a few more hits. Draw a few more walks. Don't make mistakes in the field. Don't let Talmadge LeCroy, don't let balls get past you to the backstop. Patrick Evans, I know it was a tough play because the way he was running to the warning track and all that, and Monty Lee did defend him, but, make your catches in the field, right? Don't overthrow first base. It's these small things. They're like, if they could just clean that up and not have those issues plague them consistently, they could be competitive. Unfortunately, you're at a point now where the season's kind of gotten away from you, right? You're 2-10 overall in the SEC. Now, considering how they've played against highly ranked teams, I think they've got a good opportunity to go in this weekend and win the series against Missouri, right? And if you take 2 out of 3 against them, you get yourself to 4-11 in conference play. 4-12 in conference play. Yeah, 4-12 in conference play. Could be 2-11 right now. And you could build off that, but again, I think you're not really playing for anything at that point in time in terms of trying to square yourself up for the postseason. Which again, that was the one shred of optimism coming away from the change from Maneri to Monty Lee is like, hey, maybe if you play well enough, get some big wins, you could put yourself in position to maybe make a run at this thing, but I think it's too far gone now. And again, it's going to be a season that we look back on with so many what ifs, right? Like, what if your offense was better in this game? What if your defense didn't let you down in this game? What if, your pitching was a little bit better in this game or your offense was good? All those kind of things are what are going to kind of be the story of the season when it's all said and done. Look, we're going to continue to track this team. We're going to continue to follow this team. We're going to continue to talk about this team. But for where we were at on Friday morning saying, hey, wait a minute, maybe this win on Thursday could be the spark of something. Again, the chances were on the slimmer side, but maybe you can build off this. Maybe you can make something happen, and then you just kind of go through the rest of the weekend. And obviously, we kind of know where things stand as of right now. By the way, they're back in action tomorrow night, taking on College of Charleston, 6:15 pregame for a 6:30 first pitch, which you can listen to right here on 107.5 The Game as they try and just get back in the win column, right? We said, last week when they won their, midweek game against Wofford that, hey, in the grand scheme of things, that doesn't mean a whole lot, but they were able to carry that momentum, especially offensively, into Thursday, and hopefully you can do something similar with College of Charleston and then following it up by going on the road to Missouri coming up later on this week. But again, we'll talk about that as the week does go along. We have got some Final Four games on the men's side to recap from the weekend. We'll get into that coming up next, as well as preview the national championship later on in the hour. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you here on your Monday on The Game.
All my sports. The Game Network. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 96.9 The Game in Charleston. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. And 100.5 The Game in Florence.
We have a new way for you to call the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. Just dial pound 250, and when prompted, punch in the keywords, The Game. And that's it. Again, pound 250 with the keywords, The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet studio. Herndon Chevrolet is your hometown dealer. Stop by today or shop online 24/7 at herndonchevy.com.
At Average Al's Furniture Warehouse, our sofas have cushions, our tables have 4 legs, our recliners recline. So come on by for a perfectly average experience.
Cumulus Digital doesn't stop at average. We work with more than 4,000 local businesses every month, delivering campaigns that beat industry averages by over 25%, driving real, measurable growth. You're not average. Your results shouldn't be either. Visit cumulusdigital.com to start outperforming today.
Looking for a dealership that treats you like family? Come to Herndon Chevrolet, where we've been proudly serving Lexington and the Midlands for over 50 years. Whether you're shopping for a new or pre-owned vehicle or just need expert service, you'll find it all right here. Shop online anytime at herndonchevy.com or stop by and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
Herndon Chevrolet, Herndon makes you wanna smile.
Spring cleaning starts with Zero-Res Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. Mention 107.5 The Game and get 3 rooms cleaned for $109, plus a free hallway. No one cleans like Zero-Res. No soap, no residue, no harsh chemicals, just carpets that stay cleaner longer. Take $100 off air duct cleaning for a limited time. Air ducts circulate the air you breathe, and dust can end up right back on your floors. April appointments are filling up very fast, so don't wait. Visit ZeroResColumbia.com to book today.
Columbia, Josh loves the spring, but he hates to paint, so he called Rhino Shield.
We have a cedar-sided home at the edge of the woods, painted like 1980s beige. We wanted something that was more of a mid-century and modern look. We were driving around and we saw a sign in somebody's yard that said Rhino Shield. It's not paint.
It's not paint, it's better.
We gave Rhino Shield a call, and they were fantastic with the arrangement on the schedule. The 25-year guarantee was important to us. This is our forever home, and we want to make sure that whatever we're doing is going to last a long time.
Columbia, get the guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield now for 15% off the regular price.
I'd say if you're thinking about Rhino Shield, just do it. It's been 2 years now, and it still looks like the day it went on.
Here's owner Dan Hoey.
This offer's limited, so call today at 833-RHINO-99 or visit
Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Yo, this is Ray and Nathan with Pope Davis Tire Automotive.
Dad, why do the other tire places in town not like us?
They are just jelly about our lit prices.
Like the top 17-inch size for your Mommobile, $500 for a set of 4 out the door.
Or the top 20-inch truck size for $720 total, no cap.
You can even buy tires online at PopeDavisTire.com.
Why is my line just 6'7"?
6'7".
I don't get it.
PopeDavisTire.com.
Bill Gunner at 107.5 The Game for AAA Heating and Air. Look, I know you're thinking about a lot of spring cleaning right now, but are you thinking about your generators? You need to be. Those things are vitally important when our power goes out. You want to make sure your generator is running great. At AAA Heating and Air, they're ready to help you. So call today or visit their website. Call AAAtoday.com and tell them Bill Gunner with 107.5 The Game sent you.
AAA Air when you need us. AAA Heating and Air.
Hey guys, Wes Mitchell from Gamecock Central here to make sure your business and property parking lots are kept available from any unwanted cars taking up your spots with Schroeder's Towing. For instance, you're coming in hot to the game studios for your show and you park next door in an unauthorized lot with signage that was provided for free from Schroeder's Towing. Next thing you know, the show is in the books and your car is out of the lot. It really is that simple. That's a true story. Call Schroeder's today and keep those unwanted cars out of your lots. Online at schroederstowing.net.
Just dial pound 250 and use the keyword tow truck.
Schroeder's Towing, the best and fastest hookers in town.
Oh, yeah. The Extra Point with Tyler Head.
And the kick is good.
Call or text 803-404-6100 on the Game Network.
Clock is down to 7. UConn up by 4. Demery. Mullins. On target. How about that early dagger? Braylon Mullins.
Welcome back in. Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you here on your Monday on the Game. That was the call Saturday night on CBS as, yes, indeed, Braylon Mullins with the dagger 3 to give UConn a 7-point lead with just under a minute to go to help them roll to the 71-62 win over UConn in the Final Four to punch their ticket for another national championship appearance, the third time in 4 years that they've been going to that game. And, of course, they won in their prior 2 trips with the back-to-back national titles back in 2023 and 2024. And, you know, it's very interesting because, you know, Braylon Mullins basically carried his momentum over from the crazy shot to win against Duke the other day, carried into the game on Saturday night. He goes out there, has a phenomenal game, scored the most threes he had in a game in 2 months. Also came right out of the gate early in the game against Illinois, knocking down a couple threes there. And then, of course, hits another clutch shot there at the very end of the game to kind of give Connecticut enough of a buffer to hang on to win that game by the 9 points that they did. Of course, he's an Indiana kid. You know, the story was told a lot heading into the weekend and over the weekend of him, you know, growing up close by, his parents driving from home to watch the game in a venue like Lucas Oil Stadium where he'd spent so much time as a kid going to Colts games and all that kind of stuff. And he obviously felt very comfortable there and excited to see what he does coming up tonight. But this was such an interesting game because UConn was able to stifle the Illinois offense. They came in as the best offense in men's college basketball, you know, going into the weekend. And when you want to look at some of the biggest differences in this game, you look at the three-point shooting. Illinois was 6 of 26 from 3. UConn was 12 of 33 from 3. And I read this stat on ESPN. It sounds like it's not true, but it was in their story. They said the most in a game in program history for ESPN. I don't think that's true. That sounds insane if it is. But again, 12 of 33 from 3 for UConn on Saturday. And you know, Illinois had been in the single-digit shooting threes in their past couple of games in March Madness heading in to the Final Four, but they were so effective from 2, right? They had a 54% combined shooting percentage in those prior games where the 3-ball wasn't quite falling the same way. UConn held them to 43%. And also 50%, they held them under 50% at the rim. That's a metric that Illinois was 17th in the nation coming into the weekend. And UConn truly beat them at their own game. You had several players for UConn that stepped up, as I just mentioned, Braylon Mullins going out there and carrying over his momentum, from the prior game against Duke. Terrace Reed goes out there, gets 11 points in the first half. Solo Ball gets 8 points in about a 5-minute stretch there in the second half, and all that contributed to why UConn was able to win this game. And I think there's also a factor of just being there before, right? Like, Dan Hurley has residency in the Final Four. He's no stranger. As I said the other day, when he gets past the second round, he has still not lost a game in the NCAA tournament. There's value in that. That is truly worth something, as opposed to Brad Underwood coaching in his first ever Final Four, and Illinois' first trip to the Final Four since 2005. So there's very much an element of UConn having been there before and Dan Hurley having that experience, and Brad Underwood not. And I do think that ended up playing a factor in this game on Saturday night. So that was game number one. Pretty close, pretty interesting game all the way through. The catcher really glued to the TV the entire time. The later game between Michigan and Arizona, not quite so much.
And a collision there. And that will do it. It's a Michigan masterpiece. The Wolverines advance to the national championship game with a lopsided win over Arizona. It is Michigan and UConn.
91-73, the final score for that game, punching Michigan's ticket to the national championships, a place they've been before. Dusty May, after coming up so close with FAU a couple years ago, finally gets to coach in his first national championship game coming up later on tonight. And by the way, this game against Arizona, as we were hyping it up on Friday, seemed to be the more exciting matchup of the weekend, right? Between the two remaining number one seeds, two teams that were looked at as two of truly the best in college basketball, hence why they got number one seeds. 1.5 point line in this game, and Michigan just beat them from pillar to post. They got out to the quick 10-1 lead early in the game and just never really allowed Arizona to wrestle control back. There was 1 point late in the first half where Arizona went on an 8-0 run and cut the lead down to 5, to which Michigan immediately answered with a 7-0 run of their own. So even in those small moments where it looked like Arizona was getting things back on track, Michigan always had an answer for them. And Michigan dominated inside the arc. Like, that's one thing that we knew about Arizona coming into this game, is they're not a team that likes to shoot a lot of threes. They were very efficient with it in the tournament when they did it, but it's not an MO of their offense. They really want to bully down in the paint. They want to get close to the basket, and they want to score there. And Michigan held them in check. They held them to 20 of 54 from 2. And they basically made Arizona play a game they didn't want to play. Because especially as you get in the second half, when you're down by as much as Arizona was, you're going to have to start knocking down some three-pointers to try and close that gap, especially when you're not able to stop Michigan on the other end. And Arizona just didn't have the capability of doing that. They were 6 of 17 from 3. Like, that's not the game that they want to play. And again, you just had Michigan and their star players stepping up. Andy Marr up 26 points and grabbing 9 boards. Elliot Cadeau, who had a pretty dismal first half. He was 2 of 14 from the field, but he facilitated well. He truly controlled the offense, had 10 assists in the game, and just kept everything under control even when he wasn't having his best overall shooting night. Did end up with 13 total points, but it was a hard 13 to get. But he played his role when it came to the assist and facilitating that Michigan offense. And then Yaxel Lindenberg, who rolled his ankle and nasty, steps on one of the Arizona players' foot, and it's that classic case of like the ankle touching the floor, which is never good. I got to give him props for this, because he goes to the locker room, gets tape, gets ice, all that kind of stuff, comes back out, and Michigan is like still winning the game pretty handily. And apparently, according to the sideline report from Tracy Wolfson, his parents, his family, his agent told him, hey, you don't need to go back in this game. He's like, nah, I need to be out there with my guys. Goes out there, finishes the game, hits a couple of pretty sweet threes in the second half, too, despite dealing with that bad ankle. Of course, he's on limited minutes in this game, but ends up going out there and playing his role. And we'll get to the injury report in a minute, but he was obviously a big part of Michigan getting to this point, and he was not going to be denied, despite the ankle injury, to get out there and make things happen. 11 points in Saturday's game for the time that he was out there on the court. And again, 3 of 3 from beyond the arc. So that now sets us up for tonight's national championship game between Michigan and UConn, which, by the way, you can listen to right here on 107.5 The Game with pregame coverage starting at, I believe, 7 o'clock right here on The Game for, again, the men's national championship. We'll get into that matchup. Let's hear from the coaches as well coming up on the other side as the halftime show, the Extra Point, rolls along. Tyler Head along with you on your Monday on The Game.
Wow, what a play. The Game Network. Columbia, Charleston, Florence, and Myrtle Beach.
We have a new way for you to call the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. Just dial pound 250, and when prompted, punch in the keywords, The Game. And that's it. Again, pound 250 with the keywords, The Game. Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. For auto, home, and commercial glass. ShepherdsGlass.com. In Chapin and West Columbia, The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. Shepherd's Glass.
BOGO is back at iMart Express. Come on.
Okay.
Right now, for a limited time only, new customers can buy their first pair of glasses and get a second pair free. Plus, with eye exams available and same-day glasses, you'll never miss a moment. It's the kind of savings and service you can really get used to.
Okay.
Find a location near you at imartexpress.com to shop our BOGO event today and see everything we have in store for you. iMart Express. Get glasses. Go see.
When your money's on the line, are you okay with a basic free tax service? Get the confidence of TurboTax with free Fed and state filing on Intuit Credit Karma. Around 37% of filers qualify. Simple 1040s only. See details at turbotax.com/free.
Attention music fans, the 3rd annual Meeting Street Music Fest is happening April 17th and 18th in West Columbia. This award-winning 2-day festival features 11 incredible bands, including national headliner Sugar Ray, plus amazing food, drinks, and fun, and it's completely free. Join us Friday from 6 to 8 at the West Columbia Amphitheater and Saturday from 3 to 9 along Meeting Street. Make it a weekend getaway and experience one of the Southeast's fastest-growing music festivals. Learn more at meetingstreetmusicfest.com. That's meetingstreetmusicfest.com.
Spring cleaning starts with Zero-Res Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. Mention 107.5 The Game and get 3 rooms cleaned for $109, plus a free hallway. No one cleans like Zero-Res. No soap, no residue, no harsh chemicals, just carpets that stay cleaner longer. Take $100 off air duct cleaning for a limited time. Air ducts circulate the air you breathe, and dust can end up right back on your floors. April appointments are filling up very fast, so don't wait. Visit ZeroResColumbia.com to book today.
Hey, this is Jen Jensen for CHW Cabinetry. My family is using CHW Cabinetry, and they are fantastic to work with. They make sure you're satisfied with every step of the process. Not only do their photorealistic renderings show exactly what your new space will look like, their job site guarantees everyone is on the same page, literally. Experience the CHW difference for yourself. Go to CHWCabinetry.com to see more, or call them at 803-520-6837, and be sure to tell them Jen Jensen sent you. CHW Cabinetry, passion from inspiration to installation.
Make your dream pool a reality this summer with Aquarian Pools of Columbia. Specializing in residential and commercial pool construction, Aquarian Pools of Columbia offer complimentary design services that bring your vision to life. Whether you need a new backyard oasis or your old pool needs a renovation, their expert builders are ready to deliver just in time for summer. With 54 years in business, if you can dream it, they can build it. Visit them online at aquarianpools.com or call 803-732-3636 today.
Hey guys, it's Jay Phillips for the Men's Clinic. You're not feeling like yourself as you get older? You're wondering why? Don't wait for it to change or go away. Instead, see Dr. Dan Balknight and his team at the Men's Clinic. You'll have a one-on-one consultation that gets to the root of the issues and gets you back to feeling like you used to. No such thing as a one-size-fits-all treatment at the Men's Clinic. Call them up for a free consultation, 803-875-MENS, and learn more online at themensclinicsc.com.
This week's sweet deal of the week is the Hollow. Beginning this Friday at 9 a.m., you can get a $50 gift certificate to the Hollow for just $25. Get yours at 1075thegame.com.
Full Send Golf.
You guys know how much I really, really love golf, and I think every week would be dope to post on the Golf Channel. I want to get a lot of guests on here.
Salim's going to take lead. I'm down to be in it. It's not really work to play golf.
Join the party on the golf course.
I was like, let's go to the range.
Oh.
So what are we putting on it?
We said 10K, right?
10K?
All right. We probably bet more than all the other golf channels, right?
10K, 9 holes.
Those guys bet for like cookies.
I feel like I'm going to shank it.
This guy's been trading like a Navy SEAL when it comes to golf.
I'm very, very excited. You excited?
Yeah.
Full Send Golf. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
What team sprung a leak this weekend? Sponsored by American Leak Detection on the Extra Point.
Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire.
All right, welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head with you here on your Monday on the game. We'll get back into previewing tonight's national championship for men's basketball coming up in just a moment. But first, it is time for Who Sprung a Leak, brought to you by our friends over at American Leak Detection. And I'll give this one to the TBS broadcast of the Final Four on Saturday night. Some maybe head-scratching decisions being made in terms of content when the basketball wasn't happening. There was a Chainsmokers concert that happened between the games that didn't seem like it was well received, and there were some videos of people inside Lucas Oil Stadium that, you know, in the very close up to the little stage they had there was I'm assuming actors or people that were paid to be there freaking out and jumping up and down and dancing and all that kind of stuff, and the entire rest of the building just seemed kind of dead and not really into it. Not sure why you choose the Chainsmokers for something like that, but crowd didn't seem to be too much into it. And then there was a point in time between the two games where, and of course all of this is sponsored by Capital One, and Capital One has had some of their ads where they've had the fake James Naismith, so a guy pretending to be James Naismith, of course the founder of basketball, looking at the modern game, and the fake James Naismith is on the desk panel with Ernie and Chuck and Kenny and all those guys playing a game of like, was this quote real or not? They called it Naismith or No Smith. Just a very weird thing to put in between two of the biggest games of the entire college basketball season. And, you know, I didn't really feel one way or the other about it. But seeing the discourse online of how people reacted to the Chainsmokers as well as fake James Naismith on the broadcast on Saturday, I'll give that our Who Sprung a Leak, brought to you by our friends over at American Leak Detection. So now we have but two teams left, Michigan and UConn. And pretty interesting story when it comes to both of these coaches. We'll start off with Dusty May as he scouted UConn over the weekend ahead of tonight's game.
Well, it's definitely a reset from playing Arizona, and we do feel like we've caught some breaks as far as St. Louis was extremely similar to Alabama, and you play them in succession. Yeah. And the same thing with Tennessee, then on to Arizona with the physicality and style of play. This one is much different than all of those. It's going to be a challenge. We do feel like we're a difficult matchup on a short prep as well, because neither of us play stylistically like the rest of the teams in our leagues. So we haven't seen several teams in our league like UConn, and I don't think they've seen several teams. There's one or two, but they haven't seen many teams in their league that are like us. And so it's going to be who can perform better in a short window. But I do think there are some similarities in our league. Iowa's a great example where the physicality jumps out. You have to maintain discipline for the full 30 seconds of a shot clock, and if you lose focus at all, then not only do you give up a basket, or you give up a second shot and you have to defend again for another 20 seconds. So there will be some things we take from previous opponents.
Look at this.
So there's Dusty May previewing how he views things in terms of the matchup with UConn coming up tonight. And for Michigan, again, they haven't won a title since 1989. Have played for it multiple times, but not been able to get the job done. This would obviously be huge for them, would obviously be huge for the Big Ten, a league that hasn't won a basketball men's national championship since the year 2000 with Michigan State. For Dusty May, as I mentioned a moment ago, came oh so close to playing for a national title in that wacky Final Four we had a few years ago where they fell to San Diego State in the semifinal. So this is his opportunity to get to coach in this game for the first time. But on the other side is the guy that's been here and done it many times before, that being Dan Hurley. And he spoke over the weekend about, hey, you don't got to be the best team to win this whole thing.
Yeah, in this game, not at all, because you get down to, winner take all at this point. There's just that is something that you probably doesn't even register. It's just like preparation, game plan, make sure the guy you're getting is healthy and as with all the recovery, and just really, you don't have to be the best team. You don't have to have the best season to win this tournament. These are all one games, game 7, single game elimination. There's been plenty of times in the history of this tournament where the best team hasn't won it. You just got to be better for one night. And obviously, for us, we need to play the game a certain type of way. We obviously can't get into a certain type of game with Michigan. They're, incredibly dominant team, incredibly well coached, talent up and down the roster, physically imposing, all those things. So, the good thing for us, it's not a 7-game series. Just got to play one game on Monday night.
And he's right. And look, Michigan is the favorite in this game per Vegas for a reason, because, again, they've played some of the best basketball all year, and they obliterated what a lot of people thought was the best team left standing in Arizona the other night. So rightfully so, Michigan is the favorite coming into tonight. But, again, Dan Hurley's been there and done that before. He is this is not his first rodeo with playing for and winning national championships, and Dusty May doesn't have that experience. And for Michigan, as I mentioned, they're trying to claim their first title since 1989 and trying to get over that hump for the Big Ten for the first time in 25 years. UConn's been there and done that, right? They're trying to win their third national championship in 4 years. And if they can do that, well, they lay claim to a dynasty at that point in time, right? You win 3 out of any 4 titles, you get the dynasty label, rightfully so. So that is what UConn is playing for tonight. And I do think, as I mentioned earlier, when Dan Hurley gets past the second round, he doesn't lose. And on paper, you can look at it and say there are so many metrics that favor Michigan. But at the end of the day, the experience of UConn and their head coach, Dan Hurley, has to account for something. So I wouldn't be shocked at all if UConn wins this thing. And that's the mark of some of the best coaches we've seen in the history of sports, particularly college sports. When you know they don't have their best team, yet they still find ways to succeed and win championships. And that could be a case for UConn tonight. Still a really good team. Maybe not as good as teams from a couple years ago, but I wouldn't be surprised if they end up winning this whole thing, and we'll see what happens tonight. Gary Parrish of CBS Sports Eyes on College Basketball podcast posed an interesting point in their preview of this game over the weekend, where he said we could be witnessing a coaching matchup that we view as an all-timer years from now, right? Dan Hurley has already won 2 national championships and could win a third one tonight, and probably has the opportunity to win many, many more as the years go by, and put himself in that very rarefied air with the all-time greats in men's college basketball. And Dusty May just really getting started. Again, he had Florida Atlantic in the Final Four, and he's only been at Michigan for 2 years, so still very early on in his coaching tenure. And I'm sure if he doesn't win tonight, there'll be more opportunities to make Final Fours and play for and win national championships as the years go by, to where, 15, 20 years from now, we could say, May and Hurley, what an elite, legendary 2 Hall of Famers squaring off in the 2026 national championship. Again, it's you don't have the full context yet to know that for sure, but it seems like that could be the direction that we're heading. For tonight, Yoxa Lindenberg for Michigan, good to go, despite the ankle injury. Solo Ball for UConn, also good to go, as they didn't show up on the injury reports last night, so positives there for both teams. I'm really interested to see if Michigan can run away and hide with this thing early. Can they jump out to a quick lead like they did in Arizona and force UConn to play fast, right? Because that's the MO for Michigan. Michigan is a team that wants to run up and down the court on you, much like Florida when they came in and played Carolina this year, and when we saw them play this season. They want to run up and down. They want to beat you in transition, and they want to turn it into a track meet. UConn wants to play slow. They have one of the slowest paces in all of men's college basketball. But to dictate the pace of a game, you got to be in control. And if Michigan's up by 15, well, UConn can't afford to play slowly then. They have to slow the game down. And I think that's going to be one of the biggest dynamics tonight is seeing who controls the tempo. Because, again, if it's an up and down sprint from basket to basket, that's going to favor Michigan. If UConn can gain control early and slow the pace down, that's going to favor them. But excited for the matchup tonight. Looking forward to it, and we'll get into some more thoughts on this as well as looking back. And I know Jack's not here today because he's out for the week. We'll get it back in here next Monday, but we will readdress his headline from the weekend, if it came true, as well as mine, as we looked ahead on Friday to what we thought we were going to be talking about coming in on Monday, recapping the entire weekend. So we'll hit that coming up next to wrap up hour number 2 of the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you on your Monday here on The Game.
All my sports. The Game Network. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 96.9 The Game in Charleston. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. And 100.5 The Game in Florence. Gamecock fans, get ready for something new this season. Charleston now has a new station for Carolina sports talk. Dial in to 96.9 The Game on HD3. Head to 96.9 FM and on an HD radio, punch into HD Channel 3. You'll unleash live Carolina coverage you can listen to all day long. New on HD3. It's 96.9 The Game HD3, South Carolina's newest sports station.
This is a Westwood One Sports Minute.
If UConn pulls the upset tonight over Michigan and wins its 3rd national championship in 4 years, it will go down as the greatest achievement in the history of college basketball. We haven't seen a team win 3 championships in 4 years since John Wooden's UCLA and Rupp's Kentucky, and in this era of NIL and the transfer portal, this would be unprecedented if UConn won tonight 3 in 4 years. I'm Nick Costos.
I checked Allstate first and saved hundreds on my car insurance. Really smart. Unfortunately, I didn't check if I left the pizza box on top of my car before driving home. Not smart. Oh, and a semi just turned my deep dish into a thin crust.
Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds.
Potential savings vary, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate North American Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance tech at a university, he knows ordering from multiple suppliers takes time away from keeping their arena up and running. That's why he counts on Grainger to get everything he needs, from lighting and HVAC parts to plumbing supplies, all in one place. And with fast, dependable delivery, he's stocked and ready for the next tip-off. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
O'Reilly.
Check engine, ABS, or maintenance light on? Take the guesswork out of your warning lights with O'Reilly Veriscan. The service is free and provides a report with solutions verified by ASE certified master technicians. And if you need help, we could recommend a shop for you. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
This is the story of the one. As a procurement manager for a hospital system, she keeps every facility in her network stocked and ready. That's why she counts on Grainger to be her single source for thousands of products, from disinfectants to lighting, air filters, and more. And with fast, dependable delivery, Grainger helps her keep every facility stocked, safe, and running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
ZipRecruiter.
As a social influencer, my days can be busy. 4 a.m., I hit the gym. 4:32, protein smoothie. 5:08, save time and money bundling my home and auto insurance with Progressive. Wait, if I bundle and save time, what would I do then? Just sit here and reflect? Like, why am I qualified to influence anyone? And how those weights are hollow? And half of my followers are bots.
You could save time and money bundling your home and auto when you switch to Progressive. It's one less thing to worry about during your already busy day. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations. Oh, yeah. The Extra Point with Tyler Head.
And the kick is good.
Call or text 803-404-6100 on the Game Network.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you, wrapping up hour number 2 here on your Monday on the Game. As we do on Friday, Jack and I give our future headline predictions for the weekend, where we take a look ahead and said, I think these are the things they're going to be talking about come Monday morning. And I'll start off with mine, where I said, kind of in tune with what we'd seen throughout the tournament so far, I expected we'd see a winning shot in one of the men's basketball games to occur within the last handful of seconds. I said 5 seconds specifically. Of course, that did not end up coming to fruition, as UConn beats Illinois by 9 and Michigan routs Arizona by 18 points in their respective games. Hopefully tonight, though. Hopefully tonight we can get a good competitive game between those two teams, and hopefully we can wrap up what's been a pretty fun tournament, all things considered, with a fun national championship game coming up later on tonight. Again, I could see it going either way. I'll lean towards Michigan, but at the same time, I can't doubt Dan Hurley's ability to go in there and do it once again and really solidify this UConn program in this current era. Because again, they won championships in the past as a dynasty, especially one in this era with the portal and NIL and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see what happens coming up tonight. Jack decided to stick in men's basketball himself, and he thought North Carolina would have a head coach named by this point today. Now, it's interesting because on Friday, when we were doing this right at the same time, about 10:50, Tommy Lloyd had not agreed to his extension with Arizona. And that was one of the headlines later Friday afternoon. Bill and I talked about it. We're out there at Charwood. Is Tommy Lloyd agreeing to the 5-year deal, and the odd quirk in there that he doesn't have to answer to the AD anymore, which is really funny because the AD was, talking about how they're going to split up resources and all that kind of stuff, and now Tommy Lloyd doesn't have to adhere to that. So it seemed like it seemed like in a lot of ways that Michigan and Arizona might be playing for the losing coach to take the North Carolina job. So Tommy Lloyd agrees to his extension on Friday. Then Dusty May, basically says, I'm not interested for the UNC job as the weekend plays out, and I don't expect that to change no matter what the result is coming up tonight. And that is an interesting case now because North Carolina, as, by the way, the portal opens up tomorrow, guys. The transfer portal is open tomorrow, and as of right now at 10:50 on April 6th, North Carolina does still not have a head coach for their men's basketball team. Just kind of poking around on various hot boards and things like that. Billy Donovan's name seems to now be at the top once again. He kind of seemed like the front runner a few weeks ago, and that kind of shifted to, Tommy Lloyd. But now that Tommy Lloyd's off the table, Dusty May seemingly as well. Just back to Billy Donovan. Again, the question is, does he want to come back to college? Does he want to deal with this new era with portal and NIL and all that kind of stuff? Or just stick in the NBA? Ben McCollum is a name that's coming up. And of course, he's rapidly ascended in men's college basketball and got Iowa very deep in the tournament this year. And I'm interested to see, what he's going to be able to do. Mark Byington at Vanderbilt, a name. Scott Drew at Baylor, another name as well. I don't know where they're going to go. And this is what makes this job search so interesting, because for so many years, North Carolina just looked inward, right? Former player, an assistant on the staff, whatever it may be. Hubert Davis played there, was an assistant under Roy Williams, so it made total sense why he got the job. And now that they're going outside the bubble, this is very rarefied air for the North Carolina program, certainly in the modern era of college basketball, in terms of how they're dealing with this coaching search. Now, here's the thing. For North Carolina, if they name a coach on Wednesday, they are still going to have tons of resources and NIL and all that kind of stuff to throw at players to still be able to acquire guys out of the portal, so I don't think they're completely killing themselves by not having a coach on day one of the portal, but it's not helping, right? I wouldn't go too deep into this thing not knowing who your head man was going to be. As we talked about at the end of last week, the Billy Donovan thing is tricky because, well, the NBA season's not over yet. They still have a handful of more games to go, so you would have to have Billy Donovan to walk away from that job, and how they handle that. Would he want to do that with the Bulls? I don't know. This is a tricky situation. Of course, all the other college coaches that are on your hot board, they're done, so they can seemingly jump at these jobs, but I don't know if we expected to get this deep into it before North Carolina was able to ultimately find their coach. And again, I don't think the results of tonight's national championship change anything in terms of Dusty May, as he again downplay or basically said, no, I'm not going to North Carolina, and I think you're in a good spot in Michigan. Why would you? So we'll see what happens. Again, time is ticking. Can't wait too much longer. But the North Carolina job's still not filled as of right now. And again, that was Jack's feature headline prediction over the weekend. Again, tonight, national championship, which you can listen to right here on 107.5 The Game. Again, I'm hoping for a competitive game. I'm hoping for a game that's fun, that we can come in here and talk about tomorrow, because I feel like for so many years, the national championship just kind of ends up being bleh, ends up being kind of forgettable, which sucks because this year's tournament's been really good. This year's tournament's delivered a lot of moments. Yeah, we haven't had the Cinderellas of years past and all that kind of stuff, but I think overall, this tournament has been really good, and it would be really great to be able to cap it off with a strong national championship game between two teams that I think are on each other's level, right? Now, again, we thought the same thing with Michigan and Arizona, and Michigan ends up blowing the doors off of them, so that very well could happen tonight. But I keep going back to the experience factor with Dan Hurley. The fact that he's never lost a game this deep into the tournament. The fact that he's won 2 national championships, and Dusty May's never even coached in one of these games. I do think that's valuable, and I'm interested to see how much, if any, that could help out, UConn tonight as they take on Michigan. And then by this time tomorrow, we'll be done with the college basketball season. It feels like it goes by in the blink of an eye. I feel like we're just tipping off back in November, and hopes were high and all that kind of stuff. And, of course, South Carolina season from the men's side of things didn't end up the way that we wanted, and certainly the women's side didn't close out the way we wanted them to. But definitely a lot of interesting things happening along the way. We'll get back into the women's basketball discussion coming up to start the next hour as we get into the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs on your Monday here on The Game.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet studio. Herndon Chevrolet is your hometown dealer. Stop by today or shop online 24/7 at herndonchevy.com.
Email hijacking and ransomware are on the rise, and they're targeting your business. Once your data is out there, there's no fix, no reset. Do you know where your business is vulnerable right now? Find out with a cybersecurity audit from IntelliSystems. IntelliSystems is one of the few firms worldwide that's GTIA Cybersecurity Trustmark Assured, meaning the highest global standards. They find gaps before criminals do. Schedule your audit now. IntelliSystems.com.
Start your spring cleaning with Zerorez. Get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for $109 plus a free hallway. No soap, no residue, no harsh chemicals, just a deeper clean that lasts. Plus, now you can also take $100 off air duct cleaning and breathe cleaner air. Visit ZerorezColumbia.com.
Hey, this is Terry Ford. Got a little story time for you. If you're a business or property owner and you're needing to deter any unwanted cars from parking in your parking lots, definitely call Schroeder's Towing. They'll provide signage for your business completely free of charge. Anytime a vehicle is parked in your lot that shouldn't be, Schroeder's Towing will be there to make sure your lot stays open for your employees, customers, and tenants. Trust me, I know firsthand what happens when you ignore Schroeder's Towing signage. Just go online at schroederstowing.net.
Just dial pound 250 and use the keyword tow truck.
Schroeder's Towing, the best and fastest hookers in town.
If you need orthopedic or neurosurgical care, it's a big deal to you and to us.
At Midlands Orthopedics and Neurosurgery, we offer easy access to seasoned physicians with the most extensive outpatient experience in the region. Whether it's joint replacement, a neck or back procedure, or injury care, you can trust us to provide customized treatment plans with easy access, great outcomes, and lower cost to you. Midlands Orthopedics and Neurosurgery.
It's tax time, y'all. If you want to file free, this next one's for you.
Now taxes is so free.
Jam. Up next, commercials.
Intuit TurboTax Free Edition. See if you qualify at turbotax.com/free. Don't miss the deadline. File by 4/15. No schedules except for earned income tax credit, child tax credit, student loan interest, and Schedule 1A.
As America's #1 motorcycle insurer, Progressive has your back.
Oh, like if I need a replacement part?
Sure, we can help with that.
Ah, nice. Hey, I just entered this online contest for coolest bike in the world. You think maybe you can vote for me?
Actually, we just do insurance, not popularity contests.
Yeah, I know. But what's your email? I'll just send you the link real quick. You can vote like 100 times a day. They'll never know.
To be clear, Progressive has your back for insurance only. So get a quote and see if you can save.
So what I'm hearing is there's a little bit of wiggle room.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates covered subject to policy terms, limits, and conditions.
Sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Progressive can help you protect your home, auto, boat, motorcycle, ATV, and RV, and more. And if something wasn't mentioned that you had in mind, find out if it can be covered at progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE, because it probably can be.
Make your dream pool a reality this summer with Aquarian Pools of Columbia. Specializing in residential and commercial pool construction, Aquarian Pools of Columbia offer complimentary design services that bring your vision to life. Whether you need a new backyard oasis or your old pool needs a renovation, their expert builders are ready to deliver just in time for summer. With 54 years in business, if you can dream it, they can build it. Visit them online at aquarianpools.com or call 803-732-3636 today.
Grilling season is here. There's no better time than sitting out back at Lake Murray and grilling up great steaks on a Friday night. You need to stop by Old Timey Meat Market today, one of the 3 locations, South Congaree, St. Andrews Road in Irma, or the Lexington store, and maybe you find a steak or chicken, pork or fish. Old Timey Meat Market's got you taken care of. So visit one of the 3 stores today and tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
Old Timey Meat Market, quality selection, a cut above the rest.
Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game. WNKT Eastover, Columbia. A Cumulus media station. The Gamecock Central Takeover Hour with Tyler Head, along with Chris Clark and Wes Mitchell from Gamecock Central. Sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Call or text 803-404-6100 on the Game Network and on the 107.5 The Game app.
Firehouse Subs. Tyler Ed and Wes Mitchell along with you here on your Monday on the Game. Chris Clark out for the week, as is Jack Veltri, so it's going to be slim pickings between 9 and noon this week, I guess. But we'll piece it together, we'll hold it through, and, man, we got a lot of things to talk about from over the weekend, to say the least.
Yeah, what's up, Tyler? Dude, the highs, the lows for Gamecock fans this weekend, the roller coaster. I mean, I guess we kind of have to start, I feel like, with yesterday's championship game. But then the one thing about it being all together and being, a Friday game, then a Saturday break, then a Sunday game, is we actually didn't even get to give that Friday win the attention here on the show that it would have deserved, just because, just the highest of highs, obviously, for everyone, and then, the lowest of lows, obviously, with the way yesterday went.
Yeah, we'll kind of work backwards. We'll get to everything. We'll get to the game itself on Friday, of course, Gino's antics and all that kind of stuff, and we'll let you guys weigh in your thoughts as well, as that's been a very big topic, not only today, but obviously the entire weekend around the sports world, as that garnered a lot of the headlines on Friday. But, of course, the biggest story from the entire weekend was Carolina coming up short in the national championship game to UCLA. Obviously, the second year in a row that South Carolina has fallen. Again, played for the last 3 national championships, winning back in 2024, falling to UConn last year. And then a UCLA team that, I mean, we'll just call it like it is, just outplayed them. I mean, you ran into a team that played better than you. There's certainly things Carolina could have done a lot better, but it just seemed like it was UCLA's day yesterday.
Yeah, it did, and I think there's a lot of things to unpack, obviously, with all this. And to me, I think, Tyler, first of all, yes, everyone, even like leading into the South Carolina game with UConn, was talking about UConn because they were undefeated as some force that could not be stopped. Well, you got to remember, there was actually a lot of discussion going into the tournament about, hey, UCLA may have a loss, but they actually probably had the best resume going into this thing. And, so I think this was a situation where, yeah, you did beat Darth Vader, for lack of a better way to say it. Like, you took down UConn, but it's not like this was some just Cinderella upstart team waiting on you on Sunday. Like, I think there was a lot of emotion, and this is not an excuse, but typically teams that knock off the favorite, it takes a lot to get yourself back to the mental place, the physical place that you need to be to go win a game a couple of days later against a team as good as UCLA. And I think, yes, a lot will be made about South Carolina. A lot will be made about getting blown out in the championship game 2 years in a row. To me, this was just as much about UCLA as anything else, man. Like, they played incredibly well. They hit their open shots. Even when there was a little bit of kind of feel of momentum shifting, they didn't panic. They kept playing their game. They had a couple turnovers when South Carolina went to that kind of full court look. Didn't panic at all. And, I mean, if you really look at what UCLA has done start to finish, like, they truly probably are the best team. And I think it is easy to forget throughout this season, there was a lot of people who would have said, this South Carolina team is not going to make it to the Final Four.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So not only did they make it to the Final Four, and they went through the fact that you had injuries that were going to affect you for the entire season. They went through that stretch. I mean, remember the stretch sort of about halfway where they had a different rotation, a different lineup every game, it felt like, because of bumps and bruises. And, well, when's this player going to be back? When's that player going to be back? So, I mean, you don't have to be happy with getting blown out in the national title game. But I think you also have to acknowledge that, man, you make it to a national championship, given everything this team has faced, and you take out UConn along the way. To me, in no way can that be ever considered not a successful season. Like, if we get to the point where you have to win the national title for it to be a successful season, then we've gone a step too far, I think. But it also just goes back and shows you, we talk about it all the time, the difference in the standard because of what Dawn Staley and staff have done compared to pretty much the standard for, I would say, just about any other program in the entire country.
Yeah, and look, this is a Carolina team that had its share of trip-ups this year. They lost to Texas back on Thanksgiving. They lost to Oklahoma in a midweek early on in conference play. They lost to Texas, a team that got out to a 2-touchdown lead on them, and they weren't able to overcome that gap. So they're not as close to perfect as some of the teams that had played for national championships the prior couple years had been. We knew they were flawed going into the tournament. They played exceptionally well through the first handful of games all the way, through Friday night against UConn, but they truly just ran into a team that was ultimately better than they were. And that was one thing that stood out about yesterday is, not every player for Carolina went out there and had their best game over the course of the entire tournament. Some days it was, Joyce. Some day it was Tanaya. Some days it was Tessa. And nobody really stood out yesterday, right? Like, Tessa had 14 points. She stopped a couple of, UConn scoring streaks there, but it never really turned into anything. And nobody on Carolina's side took the game over. And in past national championships and past Final Four runs, there's been that player that really says, I'm out here, I'm going to be the one that takes over and dominates. We didn't have that yesterday.
Well, and I think, Tyler, what was your buy or sell on Friday? We were talking about UConn, but it was South Carolina and, what was it, 3 players in double digits?
Correct.
And if you look at the game yesterday, kind of moving that thought forward, South Carolina only had Tessa and McKeer in double digits. And McKeer, to be completely fair, got a lot of that late. Now, she wasn't as highly involved. Here's the thing. I feel like it to me, it appeared fairly early in these other games. Oh, this is Joyce's night. Oh, this is Latson's night. It felt to me like, so the beauty of having a team that's built like that is, hey, any given night, different people can go off. If a couple people have an off night, somebody else can pick up the slack. But when you're in a game like South Carolina was in yesterday, and like you don't get to throw up 10 shots in the first quarter as an individual to kind of shoot your way out of it. You know what I'm saying? It's like you kind of have limited opportunities to be like, oh, this is my night. Well, unfortunately for Carolina, again, other than Tessa, and Tessa is a great player, but I don't think she's the one who was going to be able to do it alone. I don't think anybody was going to be able to do it alone against this UCLA team, to be honest. And, against a lesser opponent, you maybe can feel your way through it and just play great defense and stay within striking distance. UCLA, I would say, is probably one of about maybe 4 or 5 other teams in the country, other than South Carolina, that just you weren't going to be able to get away with this most nights against them. And so they made South Carolina pay. I'll say this, too. I know she wasn't their leading scorer, but to me, Lauren Betts was the difference. Like, just having – it's kind of like what South Carolina has had at times. Like, what South Carolina's had on their championship teams. That center who is just going to be just bigger than you. It's going to get what they want when they want it. She went for 14 and 11, but was, Tyler, highly efficient. 6 for 10, hit both of her free throws, had a couple of assists, just 1 turnover, a couple of blocks. It felt, watching the game, and I don't know if the measurements say this, but watching the game, it felt like UCLA was just taller than South Carolina at every position on the floor when you looked at the way they were able to rebound. The second chance opportunities for them, and then South Carolina, it's not like – UCLA played good defense, but it's not like South Carolina did not have open shots. There were some contested misses, but also there were just some wide open misses. You shoot 29% from the floor, 13% from behind the arc. It just, I don't know, man, just not their day, especially if you look at the numbers other than Tessa.
Yeah.
Like, that is an ugly number.
Well, in the first quarter, Carolina was getting shots off and even had some good looks at times, but the ball seemingly was doing everything but going in. So, and I don't know if that was the rims or the way the court was playing or whatever it may be, but just the shots weren't falling the way you needed to, even when you're putting up what seemed to be good looks, and on the other side, everything seemed to be going UCLA's way. And that's a good point that you bring up there about Lauren Betts, because I think, we've talked this season, like Medina Okot's come on pretty strongly in the second half of the year and done a really good job being that big physical presence, but she met her match in Lauren Betts, yesterday. And Betts has been around the game for a long time, and obviously, despite the fact it came at South Carolina's expense, you can feel good about somebody like her accomplishing what she did, considering what a career has been up to this point. But yeah, Carolina just didn't have that big physical big they've had in years past. They could really take the game over, and Lauren Betts certainly did that a lot for UCLA this entire season, and namely yesterday. And obviously it's going to be back to the drawing board for Dawn Staley to figure that part out, whether it be development or in the portal or whatever it may be. But that was a bit that's a mark of a lot of championship teams, and you saw UCLA have that advantage yesterday.
Yeah, she was so good, man, to give credit where it's due. And this was a very, very senior-laden UCLA team, and these girls have worked. Corey Close, by all indications, a good person. I think Dome mentioned it, like, hey, she's given 15 years to the game. She got her opportunity now to write her name in the women's basketball history books. So, again, it was at the expense of South Carolina. I think you can appreciate what UCLA accomplished while also being upset about what it meant for South Carolina. And I'm with you, man. I tend to think we saw just the inexperience of Okot, who, the story's been told quite a bit. She is still incredibly young in her actual basketball career. And not to pretend I can get in her head a little bit, but we all kind of have that moment, unless you're just a stone cold assassin at whatever sport you play. We all have that moment where, you're confident and everybody's hyped you up and you're ready to go. And then you ever step on a field or a court and just like a few minutes in, you're like, oh, man.
Yep.
They are better than I am, And I think there's a few elite, like some athletes can convince themselves of the opposite. Like I'm going to go right at this person and make them prove it. But I think we saw just a little bit, and I think we saw it in some other big moments, and I'm not singling her out because Betts is a tough matchup for anybody, but I do just think we saw a little bit of the inexperience there with Okot because, man, from a talent standpoint, she is incredible. I almost think it's one of those things, and I'm sure the staff has tried to instill this in her. She probably doesn't even know exactly how good she can be.
Right.
So, I think with Okot, missing those early three-pointers as well, she's hit so many of those this year in certain times. It just felt like a bad early omen.
So that's the way the season ended. We will dial back to Friday night. Talk about the game first and then the other antics after that, because Carolina did get a huge victory over the number 1 seed in UConn on Friday. That's coming up next. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs here on your Monday on the Game.
Wow, what a play! The Game Network. Columbia, Charleston, Florence, and Myrtle Beach.
This hour of in-show listening on 1075 The Game is sponsored by QC Kinetics in West Columbia, the non-surgical regenerative orthopedic specialists of the Midlands. Request your consultation today by dialing pound 250 and use keyword QC Kinetics.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet studio. Herndon Chevrolet is your hometown dealer. Stop by today or shop online 24/7 at herndonchevy.com.
All right, folks, we tell you about them every single day. Let me tell you about our friends over at Integrated Media. IntegratedMediaInc.com is the website where you can get a look at all of their great services. Let them come to your house, just like they've been at my house and at Chris Clark's house too. 803-948-8327 is the number. And like we also always tell you, anything involving the audio, the video in your home, if you're wanting to upgrade it, they can do it for you. That could be full-on man cave, full-on home theater system with that extra room in the house that just sits there. Or it could be simpler. It could just be about upgrading your viewing experience right there in your living room. Hang the TV, hide the wires, go with some surround sound, make it look a little bit more professional, especially when you have people coming over to watch the big game like tonight. Again, IntegratedMediaInc.com is the website where you can find it. And ask them also about security and cameras. If you want to upgrade the security at your home, they can do that for you as well over at Integrated Media.
Email hijacking and ransomware are on the rise, and they're targeting your business. Once your data is out there, there's no fix, no reset. Do you know where your business is vulnerable right now? Find out with a cybersecurity audit from IntelliSystems. IntelliSystems is one of the few firms worldwide that's GTIA Cybersecurity Trustmark Assured, meaning the highest global standards. They find gaps before criminals do. Schedule your audit now. IntelliSystems.com.
Plus tax tags and title with approved credit. Call 888-320-6359 for details. At JT's Jeep Ram, the savings are already built in. You can see for yourself online the deep discounts we offer on new Wranglers, Grand Cherokees, Rams, and more. No guessing or games, just real savings. Clearly displayed on our website. And if you've got a trade, JT is offering up to 25% more for it. JT's Jeep Ram, 378 Lexington or Greystone Boulevard. JT'sJeep.com or JT'sRam.com. Declaration of Deal Sales Event. Start
Start your spring cleaning with Zerorez. Get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for $109 plus a free hallway. No soap, no residue, no harsh chemicals, just a deeper clean that lasts. Plus, now you can also take $100 off air duct cleaning and breathe cleaner air. Visit ZerorezColumbia.com.
Hey guys, Wes Mitchell from Gamecock Central here to make sure your business and property parking lots are kept available from any unwanted cars taking up your spots with Schroeder's Towing. For instance, you're coming in hot to the game studios for your show and you park next door in an unauthorized lot with signage that was provided for free from Schroeder's Towing. Next thing you know, the show is in the books and your car is out of the lot. It really is that simple. That's a true story. Call Schroeder's today and keep those unwanted cars out of your lots. Online at schroederstowing.net.
Just dial pound 250 and use the keyword tow truck.
Schroeder's Towing, the best and fastest hookers in town.
The one and only Monster Jam. Big air, backflips, and all-out racing. See the world's best drivers tear up the dirt in your favorite Monster Jam trucks. The fun begins at the pit party, where you can meet the drivers, get autographs, take pictures, and see the trucks up close. Must have valid event ticket to enter pit party. Restrictions may apply. Rules and activities are subject to change. Visit website for event details. Coming to Colonial Life Arena April 18th and 19th.
BOGO is back at iMart Express.
Come on. Okay.
Right now, for a limited time only, new customers can buy their first pair of glasses and get a second pair free. Plus, with eye exams available and same-day glasses, you'll never miss a moment. It's the kind of savings and service you can really get used to.
Okay.
Find a location near you at imartexpress.com to shop our BOGO event today and see everything we have in store for you. iMart Express. Get glasses. Go see.
This week's sweet deal of the week is the Hollow. Beginning this Friday at 9 a.m., you can get a $50 gift certificate to the Hollow for just $25. Get yours at 1075thegame.com.
The Gamecock Central Takeover Hour with Tyler Head, along with Chris Clark and Wes Mitchell from Gamecock Central. Sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Call or text 803-404-6100 on the Game Network and on the 1075 The Game app.
Welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler and Wes with you on your Monday here on The Game. Of course, the weekend did not end up the way that the South Carolina women wanted, coming up short in the national championship. But Friday night, huge victory for them, 62-48 over the number 1 seed and previously unbeaten UConn Huskies. And, you know, we talked about it Friday going into the game. It was a very weird place for at least this era of Dawn Staley basketball at South Carolina to be the outright underdog, to be a team that really nobody was giving a chance. And again, the last 2 matchups they had with UConn, the national championship and the regular season last year, they got handled pretty badly in those games. So I understand why the narrative was, hey, UConn's probably going to win this game, punch their ticket to another national championship, and probably go back-to-back. But Dawn Staley, her experience, knowing UConn the way she does, they went out there, executed a great game plan, and walked away with what ended up being the final victory of the season.
Yeah, and I think, Tyler, we talked about it on Friday. This UConn team, yes, they were undefeated. Yes, we all had kind of built them up to being, they were the Vegas favorite. If you're undefeated, then most of the time, casual fans are going to just pick you to win the whole thing. And on top of it, they're UConn, the biggest brand in the sport over the last couple of decades. Well, I think when you really kind of dove into what this team had actually done this year, though, South Carolina a much more battle-tested team than UConn. I thought that showed. This was a situation where I think they popped up a graphic, and it was Carolina was up by it was a minimal number. They're up by 6 or something, and it was like, this is the biggest deficit of the season for UConn. Or so it was something, some insanity, And so, I mean, I kept sitting there waiting for UConn's little counter push, waiting for their answer. And then you're just sitting there wait a second, this game is almost over. I was kind of poised for a good finish, for a big finish. And I thought it would maybe kind of go back and forth and it would come down to who made some plays late. But when the UConn guard missed the bunny late, and I think would have cut it to 9 or something like that. the one that started crying.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this game is actually over. And so in a lot of ways, it felt just like the reverse of Sunday. And this was South Carolina's night. They had a great game plan. UConn was just, I don't know, man. They were just off. South Carolina, out-rebounded them. South Carolina kind of controlled the pace of the game. Really took over starting in the third quarter and extended from there in the fourth. And I don't know, man. I do think it's pretty difficult when you have a big – my biggest concern for South Carolina on Sunday was could they put aside all the emotions of what Friday was and reset and go play well and beat a very, very good UCLA team. And obviously that was not the case. But I know Latson had 16, McKeer had 14, but it just felt to me like a very balanced effort in the UConn game for South Carolina.
Yeah, they did everything well. They made everything hard for UConn too, and that's a UConn team that physical themselves, one that's hard to score on near the basket, and Carolina made it a point like, hey, we're going to attack inside the arc. They got 56 shots up from two, only attempted 6 3-pointers that entire game. Like, their MO was they were going to attack them near the rim, and it worked. They got to line a bunch, 22 free throw attempts, made 18 of them. So their game plan to going in was being aggressive, as we know Dawn Staley teams tend to be, and obviously worked. And again, as we did talk about on Friday, this is a UConn team that had not really been in the deep waters with anybody, save for Michigan, back all the way in November, a game that they won by 3 points. But after that, it was all cruising to relatively easy victories. So we thought if Carolina could get them into a tight contest, we didn't know if they'd be leading or maybe just being on their heels in the fourth quarter, that was going to be advantage Carolina. It ended up being Carolina was just ahead by that point in time and holding them to all of nothing in the fourth quarter at the end of the day, including almost scoreless for the final 4 minutes of the game. Like, they did everything right, and clearly UConn just wasn't ready for it.
Well, by the definition, Tyler, Sarah Strong had a double-double in this game, but I think the way, and we talked about this going in, it was something that Dawn had talked about after the TCU game, making the best players on your opponent's team be inefficient in how they score.
Yeah.
And Sarah Strong was 4 for 16 from the floor, and AZ Fudd was 3 for 15 from the floor. So, that's, 7 for 31 combined for those two. And so you got, if you said going into the game that those two are going to shoot at that percentage and that they're going to have a combined 20 points, you'd feel actually pretty good, I think, about South Carolina's chances. So that was what was happening. I think the fact that Carolina threw multiple people at Sarah Strong, they sort of now famously put Raven on her a little bit, and I think we're just doing everything they could to make her think, to get her out of her game. She quite clearly got frustrated a little bit as she, as we saw, ripped her own jersey. And, yeah, I think as tough as Sunday went, Friday was just an absolute masterclass for South Carolina. And that to me was this team at its very best, playing defense, yes, being physical. That's what they're built on, physical defense. And I think, some of why Gino was so frustrated, I think, and probably why he, I guess, kind of crossed the line even before the end of the game, crossed the line in the middle of the game interview.
Yep.
You don't call out another coach. Like, what are you doing? But he crossed the line, I think, in panic, because he knows South Carolina is a physical basketball team. And we've seen some crews let them be physical. It's like any game, though. Any game, depending on the crew, they're going to let things go or they're going to not. And if you get in a game with South Carolina where the refs are letting them play, you're going to have to meet them. Like, you're going to have to meet their physicality. And I think Gino knew that they were not going to be able to meet South Carolina's physicality. So he tried to do everything he could to try to steer the referee. And early on in the fourth quarter, it kind of felt like it might be working, but it didn't matter.
We'll get into the whole Gino saga and everything that unfolded on Friday. We'll go step by step through it coming up next. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs here on the game.
All my sports. 96.9 The Game in Charleston, 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach, and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
The Game phone lines at 803-404-6100. Sponsored by AAA Heating and Air. Now offering 12-month payment plans on all HVAC or electrical repairs with no credit check. Online at callAAAtoday.com.
Pros, just because something on the job runs out doesn't mean you have to. Order it on the Lowe's app. My Lowe's Pro Rewards members get free same-day delivery on eligible orders over $25. Get the fasteners, hardware, or tools you need to keep the job moving. Order by 2 p.m. and get eligible in-stock items delivered right to your job site by 8 p.m. Members get more at Lowe's. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Subject to availability. Restrictions and terms at lowes.com/shipping terms. Subject to change.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free exit info kit. 800-979-1441. That's 800-979-1441.
When you're looking for an attorney, you don't need to look far for legal support you can trust. I'm DeWanna Looper.
And I'm Joe Weidman.
We're not just the voices you hear, we're the faces you'll see if you come in. At Atkins Law, we believe you deserve a team that listens when you're in need. We're small on purpose, local by design, and serve with compassion.
Whether you've been hurt on the job or in a car wreck, recovery comes first. We'll handle the rest.
Remember, who you hire matters, so hire a team that cares. Check us out at hollyatkinslaw.com.
At AAA Heating and Air, home comfort is their top priority. Call today to schedule a seasonal maintenance appointment. Let AAA Heating and Air qualified technicians put your mind at ease with a thorough inspection and cleaning of your heating and cooling system. Join their popular AAA Comfort Club to take advantage of extras like flexible visits, added discounts, and priority scheduling. Visit callAAAtoday.com to schedule an appointment. Tell them Preston on the Game sent you.
AAA Air when you need us. AAA Heating and Air.
Hey, this is Jen Jensen for CHW Cabinetry. My family is using CHW Cabinetry, and they are fantastic to work with. They make sure you're satisfied with every step of the process. Not only do their photorealistic renderings show exactly what your new space will look like, their job site guarantees everyone is on the same page, literally. Experience the CHW difference for yourself. Go to chwcabinetry.com to see more, or call them at 803-520-6837, and be sure to tell them Jen Jensen sent you. CHW Cabinetry, passion from inspiration to installation.
This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell. Cordell & Cordell is the largest family law firm in the country with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. If you or someone you care about is facing a family law issue, let us set up a 1-hour Cordell Consult. The Cordell Consult is a meeting with a local attorney who will give you clear guidance about your options, whether it's a separation, a postnuptial agreement, divorce, or custody. Visit CordellCordell.com.
1201 Main Street, Columbia.
Start your spring cleaning with Zerorez. Get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for $109 plus a free hallway. No soap, no residue, no harsh chemicals, just a deeper clean that lasts. Plus, now you can also take $100 off air duct cleaning and breathe cleaner air. Visit ZerorezColumbia.com.
Running a business means wearing multiple hats. So if you're like me, you probably started out using your personal phone, taking client calls and texts nonstop. As my business grew, I needed something smarter. That's when I switched to Quo, the #1 business phone system. Quo works right on your phone or computer. No carrying 2 phones, no clunky landline, just one easy app you can try for free. Your team can share one number and handle calls and texts together like a shared inbox. Any teammate can jump into the conversation, so customers get faster responses. And Quo's AI assistant summarizes your calls and responds to customers 24/7, so you never miss a lead or opportunity. All this starts at just $15 a month. That's basically 2 coffees. You can even keep your current business phone number. Find out why 90,000 businesses trust Quo. No missed calls, no missed customers. Try Quo for free at quo.com/sports. That's quo.com/sports to try Quo free. QUO.com/SPORTS.
The Gamecock Central Takeover Hour with Tyler Head, along with Chris Clark and Wes Mitchell from Gamecock Central. Sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Call or text 803-404-6100 on the Game Network and on the 107.5 1075 The Game app.
Oh, it's a kind of wild turn of events. Sarah Strong's jersey is split right down the middle. I saw you speaking to the refs about it. What message did you try to convey?
Right. There were 6 fouls called that quarter, all of them against us. And they've been beating out of our guys down there the entire game. And I'm not making excuses because we haven't been able to make a shot. But this is ridiculous. Their coach rants and raves on the sideline and calls the referee some names you don't want to hear. And now we get 6-0, and I got a kid with a ripped jersey, and they go, I didn't see it. Come on, man. This is for the national championship.
Welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler and Wes along with you on your Monday here on The Game. That is where things started on Friday night, the interview between the third and fourth quarter with Gino Auriemma and Holly Rowe of ESPN, where he was upset about the physicality that South Carolina was playing with and blamed the Sarah Strong jersey ripping on Carolina at that point in time. And as you kind of mentioned a moment ago, I said this earlier too, I can give Gino a little bit of grace in that moment because it's in game. Again, you're heading into the last quarter in a tight competitive game for a shot to go to the national championship. Every coach works the referees, trying to get more favorable calls and all that kind of stuff. And if my star player walked over to the huddle with a torn jersey, I would probably assume that it was on the other team too, and he had maybe not been provided the context of what actually happened. TV broadcast immediately showed us that she did it herself, and after the game, she even admitted to as much in the presser sitting next to him, though it took him a while to eventually admit that she was correct on that. And if that was the only thing that happened, if we just have this interview soundbite with Holly Rowe and nothing else happens after that, it's not a story. We're not talking about it. We laugh about it in the moment, tweet about it, whatever, but it doesn't overtake the game itself. But it's what happened after that, the handshake, taking into the press conference, everything else that unfolded that just divulged into this meltdown that Gino had in front of the entire sports world.
I've never seen more people in agreement about Gino being in the wrong on this, about a sports-related thing, probably ever. Because you know how, sports bring us together, but they also very much divide us on our feelings on things. And, if a guy is your guy or you're a fan of a certain team, you're going to give them more grace than, your opponent. And so I think to just see all the different reactions to this and how much of it was like, man, Gino's got to check himself was pretty incredible. And just, I don't know, man, like the aggressiveness in which he came up on Dawn Staley in the handshake line, it was just it was kind of uncomfortable, honestly, just to see the whole thing play out. And he's got her number. This is a you didn't shake my hand. You didn't like what are we talking about here? He could if he had an issue with the way things played out, he can wait and text or call Dawn Staley afterwards to make a big scene about it. And then here to me is where it took another step. So everybody calmed down. All the assistant coaches kind of, separated everybody. They calmed down Dawn Staley and her reaction. Everybody on that side is calmed down. The fact that Gino just took it to the house and did not turn around and shake hands, to me, just made it even worse because you've got a team full of South Carolina players that earned that win over UConn. And it's just like, if you want to talk about decorum and tradition and all these things, the biggest tradition in sports is that you shake hands with your opponent after the game. So it was pretty hypocritical of a response, I think, from Gino, considering how things played out.
Well, and here's the thing. If that really did bother you that much, why is that something that's taking precedent at the very end of the game, right? Like, if that's going to bother you before the game, okay, whatever. But is that the reason why your team played so bad? Because you were clearly focused on this making you so upset as opposed to properly coaching your team. And there is video, pictures, and all that kind of stuff of them shaking hands before the game. And that leads to another interesting moment where Chapel Fowler of the State, alerted him of that, and he scoffed at the question.
Chapel Fowler with the state. You talked about the handshake. There's pictures of you guys and videos pregame handshake. Was your frustration that it took a while for her to get over there, or was this a separate instance pregame versus the one that was on social media?
No, I think you missed the point of what I'm talking about. So I'd rather not go into it. Anybody that's been in the NCAA tournament, you know what I'm talking about.
And this is what just made it worse, is the press conference where these things keep coming up and keeps doubling down, trying to make people asking questions feel like they're stupid, when it's like, no, man, we're just trying to understand why you're so upset about a handshake that did happen, but not in the way you thought it should happen, and all this kind of mess. That again, you're right. He ends up looking like an idiot to everybody, and I didn't even see too many UConn people defending him at the end of the day, which says something. And again, just an all-around bad look for him, and as Dawn Staley alluded to after the game, it took away from the moment, from her team playing as well as they did, winning a huge game and knocking off an undefeated #1 seed. It immediately became all about him and his ego.
It did, and it would have come across, it still wouldn't have fixed it, but it would have come across, I would say, at least a little bit better, especially to kind of casual viewers of this whole thing, if he would have explained to Chappell's question what his exact issue was, which I believe it was. So they all, I don't know when they shook hands. I don't know when that was from. I believe that was when the teams first got out there on the court. Mm-hmm. And then he wanted for Dawn Staley to come over and shake his hand again after the teams were announced right there in front of the scorer's table. And So I really do hope we get more on this one day, because I would love to know the exact – to your point, Tyler, dude, this is what you're worried about when your team just had their undefeated season ruined. Like, you're worried that somebody didn't bow down to you, basically. Right. That's an issue. 2, I would actually like to know – what exactly happened, like why exactly it happened, because there is a video from last year, and Gino didn't just shake Dawn's hand. He's over there doing his hands, waving, come on over here. And if you remember, right, Tyler, UConn had blown out South Carolina earlier that season and was about to blow out South Carolina again. And you're probably feeling pretty good about I'm about to embarrass these guys. And so Gino's over there hand waving, essentially he didn't force Dawn Staley to hug him, but it's like when somebody holds their arms out to you,
you have no choice.
You're the bad guy if you don't give them a hug at that point, right? It makes you look bad. So, I don't know, man. Like, part of me just wonders. So, Dawn Staley could have just been coaching her team and got completely lost in the moment.
Which is what Elijah said happened. He was there, and he said, he saw Gino at this half-court moment, and Dawn was, like, in the huddle, like, getting the team ready, which very understandable. It's not like she was standing there looking at him like, I'm not coming out there. Like, she was doing her job, and maybe he should have been doing that himself. Maybe they could have played better.
Yeah, and he was more worried about, he was mad that Dawn Staley didn't kiss the ring, basically. Like, you're Gino, let me come up. I personally would love to think that it was done on purpose. I actually don't think it was. But if it was, then it worked to perfection, because it had, you ever heard the poker term on tilt, Tyler?
Yeah.
It had Gino on tilt, obviously, for the next 2.5 hours, that somebody did not bow down to him. So if that was the case, then I actually love it even more, because I think he just wanted it to be about him, and it's really not about him.
We'll get some of your thoughts on the AAA Heat and Air phone lines, give some more thoughts on this ourselves coming up next to wrap up the hour. It's Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs on your Monday on the Game.
Wow, what a play. The Game Network. Columbia, Charleston, Florence, and Myrtle Beach.
We have
have a new way for you to call the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. Just dial pound 250, and when prompted, punch in the keywords, the game. And that's it. Again, pound 250 with the keywords, the game.
This is a Westwood One Sports Minute.
Baltimore Ravens offseason program begins today under new head coach Jesse Minter, and everybody's asking the question, will star quarterback Lamar Jackson show up? Here's my answer to that question. I don't care at all. I think Baltimore is going to have a huge season this year. Needed to fire head coach Sean Harbaugh, who's a good coach. I think Jesse Minter is going to do a great job here, and I think Baltimore will be back in the playoffs this year. I'm Nick Costers.
I'm Boomer Esiason. My mom died from cancer. She was only 37 years old. She didn't have life insurance, and that was devastating for my family. That's why having life insurance is so important to me. Ethos makes it fast and easy. Get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. You can get up to $3 million in coverage with no medical exam.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/play. That's ethos.com/play. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
I need a little ranch, step to the ranch.
There's a new flavor in town, the Jalapeno Ranch Club at Chick-fil-A. With that juicy Chick-fil-A original spicy or grilled chicken, a buttermilk ranch bun, candied bacon, pepper jack cheese, and jalapeno ranch sauce. It's got big ranch vibes with a little heat. Chick-fil-A's new Jalapeno Ranch Club, available for a limited time only. Order ahead on the Chick-fil-A app.
Hear that? That's Mike. He took ZQL Pure Z's, so now he's sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. ZQL Pure Z's are fast-acting melatonin gummies with a complementary botanical blend to help Mike get the sleep he needs to wake up refreshed and ready to conquer Monday. Let's do this Monday. ZQL Pure Z's, just for sleep. Really great sleep.
These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter? Right? And the best part? They accept Discover. Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer. Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times. Right, so we shouldn't get the parachute pants? These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2025 Nielsen report.
Hear that? That's Mike. He took ZQL Pure Z's, so now he's sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. ZQL Pure Z's are fast-acting melatonin gummies with a complementary botanical blend to help Mike get the sleep he needs to wake up refreshed and ready to conquer Monday. Let's do this Monday. ZQL Pure Z's, just for sleep. Really great sleep.
These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter? Right? And the best part? They accept Discover. Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer. Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times. Right, so we shouldn't get the parachute pants? These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2025 Nielsen report.
The Gamecock Central Takeover Hour with Tyler Head, along with Chris Clark and Wes Mitchell from Gamecock Central. Sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Call or text 803-404-6100 on the Game Network and on the 107.5 The Game app.
All right, welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler and Wes wrapping up the hour here on your Monday on the Game. Of course, we're talking about Geno and the meltdown from Friday. We gave our thoughts on it. Want you to weigh in as well. Head out to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines where Steven wants to weigh in. Steven, appreciate the call. Keep it PG. What's on your mind about Geno?
I heard Geno's own voice say he waited for Don for 3 minutes, and he also heard him say in the same sentence that he's been coming to Final Fours for 20 years, and it's customary to meet before the game and shake hands. And apparently, that's what got him so upset that Don ignored him.
Yeah, that's what he said in the postgame. Appreciate the call there, 803-404-6100. I think 3 minutes was a bit of an exaggeration now. And again, this is when they're introducing the teams. They go through, introduce the starting lineup, and then at the end they'll introduce the coaches. And typically, and watching this for the men's Final Four as well over the weekend, typically the coaches are usually inside their huddle or talking to their team as they're being announced. Most of them rarely even acknowledge their name being called. And I can't remember any other instances where they meet and shake hands after that. Maybe I'm missing something. I've not been to a Final Four myself. Maybe there's another moment that I'm not aware of, but I didn't think this was a thing until Gino was ranting about it.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. And it's even if it is a thing, I don't know. It's much better handled in a different light than let me go at you in the post game line and just walk up on you, ranting and especially for somebody who just downed the person they're going after for the way they go after officials.
Yeah,
you're gonna go after an opposing coach like that. I mean, I don't know, dude. Like I said, nobody I saw online was really defending Gino's. Like even the people that are in Gino's corner.
Right.
Whenever you see someone have to go, they're a highly competitive person, or we know Gino's a good person, but he was in the wrong in this instance. Whenever anybody has to kind of defend the overall person as opposed to defending this action, then you kind of know, I guess, where they are. So pretty much all of social media, anybody you could talk to was on South Carolina's side on this. But I just go back to the fact that it does really just stink for those players that this is all we were talking about after the game as opposed to South Carolina demolishing UConn.
Let's squeeze in another call here. Monica wants to weigh in. AAA Heating and Air phone lines. Monica, appreciate the call. What's on your mind today?
Yeah, so it's Morissette. So
sorry about that.
Thank you. Not a problem. So appreciate the commentary that you guys have shared. I just wanted to weigh in on the written apology. I felt like it was still not as clear as it should have been, that he should name and said Dawn Staley, her staff, and the team. Because just to say that he sent an apology to the staff of University of South Carolina's basketball team, it felt like, I don't know if the athletic director of UConn said you better get something done or what it was, but it still fell short to me. And I absolutely wholeheartedly agree that our players did not deserve to be treated that way. And last night, the class that our folks showed with the UCLA players, it was we got blown out, but you didn't see us act up because we lost and we were demolished by a better team. So that's it for me.
Right. Appreciate the call there, Morissette. Again, 803-404-6100. And she brings up a good point. Gino did, put out a statement on Saturday, or at least the UConn account put out a statement on Saturday on behalf of Gino. And Dawn Staley's not named in it. It says apologize to Carolina and their staff, but for what the interaction was, at least acknowledging Dawn Staley probably would have done a lot of good. Again, I doubt he even wrote this thing. It could have been PR person, could have been ChatGPT for all I know, but it doesn't really change the narrative on how ridiculous this was. And I don't know, maybe when he finally cooled off that night, or I don't know, his wife maybe got in his ear and be like, hey, you're kind of stupid there. Maybe you need to say something or apologize. Dawn did acknowledge that she hadn't heard from him. Now, she's got a billion text messages on her phone, so maybe Gino's in there somewhere. He was still at the Final Four or the National Championship yesterday, so he was still around where they could have met for a moment and talked, but it is what it is at this point.
Yeah, and the whole whether they had talked or not thing, I know that was yet another layer to this. I didn't really put any stock into that part of the conversation just because, I'm going to assume, I'm going to at least hope that if he told one of his former players that he reached out to Dawn Staley, I'm going to at least hope one of those 800 texts was from him. That to me was just a side note to everything that really happened. But I agree with our caller there. Like, to me, it felt like a decision not to include Dawn Staley's name. Like let's put out a apology, but really the single person, like, yes, the players deserve an apology, but the person you kind of wronged was Dawn Staley. So it just, I don't know. It felt a little bit of a petty apology to me.
Yeah, because if you only put Dawn's name in there, didn't include Carolina, the players, the staff, whatever, would have accepted that better. Yeah, it's good to acknowledge everybody, but yeah, the one thing you probably needed to include there was Dawn. The kind of immediate narrative a lot of people went with on this, and in the post-game show, Andrea Carter and all those on the desk there kind of went with, hey, maybe he's just trying to use this as a deflection, to take the attention away from his team and how poorly they played. But and I maybe kind of bought that in the moment, but as the weekend went along, and of course, articles and videos and clips of things Gino's done over the years, I'm like, no, it's just who he is. This is pretty par for the course, especially against a team in South Carolina that's now won 6 out of the last 8 against him, right? And they kind of reclaimed things last year, but Carolina got the lick back, and that very much upset him, and again, kind of resulted in now what's unfolded over the course of the entire weekend.
Yeah, I'm with you, dude. I don't buy that was just there's ways you can deflect without looking like old man yells at clouds, and just looking insane, honestly. So I didn't really buy that at all. It's just Gino not dealing, and I will say they are competitors. They're going to be if you're on the grand stage, there's going to be times when you do something that you're just like, I should not have done that. But just to the extent that he went with it, and then even in the post game to double down on it, I think that's an issue that, like, are we really talking about it quite as much if he went into the post game and just held his hands up and was like, that was out of pocket, that was out of line, I shouldn't have done that, sorry, Dawn, I'm an idiot, I got caught in the moment. Yeah, it's still going to be talked about, but it's probably squashed a lot.
Sure.
A lot easier to give the PR online apology that every corporation gives if they make a mistake. Nobody's really buying all that.
Yeah, and again, he went about the way that he did, and now has this kind of hanging over him for really the entire offseason until we get into the next season of women's college basketball. Last about 30 seconds here. You got to lean for tonight's national championship?
I got Michigan in my bracket, so
they were your pick for the whole thing.
I stole them from Elijah.
Okay, I mean, it's a good pick. I think I had them in my Final Four, but not winning. I had Florida winning, but I had Michigan getting there. But hopefully we get a good game. Saturday night, Michigan and Arizona, pretty one-sided, and hopefully UConn can put up a better fight tonight, and we can wrap up the basketball season on a positive note.
Yeah, I will say the one thing Gino said this weekend that I wholeheartedly agree with, and I think it it speaks to South Carolina too. If you're on this stage, as much as South Carolina is, as much as UConn is, sometimes you're going to get beat. You're playing great teams, and I thought it doesn't mean something is wrong that South Carolina got blown out yesterday. They just ran into a buzzsaw, to be honest.
We fully expect to be back in the Final Four coming up next year. We'll take a retrospective on the season coming up tomorrow. Halftime show up next here on The Game.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet studio. Herndon Chevrolet is your hometown dealer. Stop by today or shop online 24/7 at herndonchevy.com.
You could file your taxes on a basic free service, which is fine. But are you okay with fine? Because when it's your money on the line, do you really want to guess if you missed a credit or hope the math is right?